Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the season finale of the NXTGEN Season 3, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing, and this series sponsored by Douglas Motorsport. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the third season of the NXTGEN Racing Touring Car Championship has made its way down many roads around the world, and all those roads have led to this one and final host venue for the season. For it is round 10 of 10, and we are here in Germany at the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg circuit, designed by Hermann Tilke in its current configuration, being a far cry from the charge into the local forestry of old. This is a circuit that prides itself on technical prowess rather than straight line speed. Whereas in its previous configuration, dating back to prior to 2002, it would see drivers make their way into the local forest and down high speed straights. Instead now it's the focus on a number of corner complexes and arena sections which put pride on braking, cornering apex speed, and on top of that as well, direction change all the way through and through. And with these front engine front wheel drive touring car racing machines being absolutely pivotal in terms of their cornering capabilities, it's going to be the ultimate test for our drivers as they come to the end of the season. And on to the top of that, the fact that overtaking is possible here, albeit it is a relatively tight circuit, and it does mean that you have to be bold on the brakes to make overtakes, but more importantly, you need to get it right in the qualifying session that precedes the three races. And if you can take track position early on, you may find yourself walking away with an absolute plethora of points. Otherwise, you may have to begrudgingly battle your way through the field in order to score your final ambition points in order to take the championship crown. Alternatively, find yourself right up there in the end stage. But as we get ready to go racing today, let's take you through your schedule. Times in British Summer Time, that's BST, or Universal Coordinated Time +1 at UTC at +1. As we can see, in just under 19 minutes time, we'll make our way into the qualifying session. 15 minutes in duration with all the drivers out of the circuit, and it's certainly going to be a blast for the final qualifying session of the season, after which we make our way into our first race of the day. All three races are sprint races of 12 laps in length, and the first one kicks off at 8:45, after which we'll have to take a brief breather before returning for the build-up to race number 2 at approximately 9:25, and after another 12 laps of race and approximately 20 minutes in duration, we'll be doing the reverse grid draw for race number 3, and then return at 10:05 to get underway for our final race of the season. It's an absolutely splendid day here in Germany on the simulator, and it's a splendid day to be bringing you all the racing action, being brought to you live by 3 media platforms for your viewing pleasure. Firstly, by 2 NXTGEN racing platforms, including the official NXTGEN Racing YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com and search for NXTGEN Racing, and hello to you guys and girls tuning in there. Alternatively, if you're a Facebook user, you may be tuning in via the facebook.com/groups/NXTGEN Racing official broadcast there. In particular, we say hello to KTMs who's tuning in via the Facebook stream. Or lastly, not an official NXTGEN channel, but you can be tuning in via Twitch at twitch.tv/TX141. And who is TX141, I hear you ask? Well, allow me to introduce myself. I'm your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain, a bit depending on what media you follow me on. Now we bring you all your racing action over the entirety of this season, and what a season it has been. But as we take a look to our calendar, we are right at the bottom of the calendar right now, and whilst we may be at the bottom, we're nowhere near the bottom of the racing action. In the fact, it's the 27th of June today, but the story started all the way back on the 18th of April at the Silverstone circuit in the United Kingdom. There it was fast, it was furious, and at the heart of British motorsport, we got to see plenty of battling action up and down the field, and that trend continued when we saw the success ballast implemented for the first time in round number 2 at Imola in Italy on the 25th of April. From there, we saw a shake-up of the field, and that shake-up continued into round number 3 at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and on the 2nd of May, we got to see our drivers take on Canadian Thruxton, as we like to refer to it, and while some drivers they're able to find a way to take a step ahead of the success bars, whereas others still found themselves struggling with it, and as we made our way into round number 4 of 10, we made our way for a first in the NXTCC, and that was the first street circuit the series has raced on. It was none other than downtown Long Beach in the state of California in the US of A, and what a spectacle that race was, and in particular Linus Broström emerging onto the scene as a dominant force in the Pro-Am class at that point in the season. And we wrapped up the first half of the season on the 16th of May with the Nürburgring Grand Prix Sprint Tracker circuit in Germany. The first of our 2 visits to Germany, and we saw there Mikey Doble secure his first wins of the season in the overall category, and starting to get that title defence off to a critical push, and indeed what a critical point to do so going into the mid-season break. Since the mid-season break, we kicked off the second half of the season with round 6 to 10 on the 30th of May. That was at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit in the United Kingdom in the county of Kent, and then we got to see some classic touring car racing class action. Indeed, drivers able to make their cars wide enough to keep their assailants at bay, and Mikey Doble once again putting off an absolutely brilliant set of scores to bring him right up into contention for the championship lead. And from that point onwards, it's been a run around the world. Return to the United States of America, round number 7 at the circuit of the Americas. Plenty of battling action up and down the field there, and quite a bit of chaos as well into turn number 1 in all 3 races. And the 13th of June, we made our way down under for Sandown, the home home of horsepower in Australia, and what a circuit was there, typified by V8 supercar racing, but we got to see our touring car racing cast machines absolutely deliver. And then last time out in round number 9, brought to you via post-round broadcast last night, it was Sonoma that played host to our drivers back to the state of California in the US of A, our third and final visit to the US of A as well for this season, and Sonoma absolutely delivering its Cup Classic circuit. And today it's the 27th of June, and we are here at the Hockenheimring. As we go into tonight, before we come on to our circuit specifically, let's give you a reminder of the championship standings. We start off with the overall Drivers' Championship, and here we can see Mikey Doble leads the way with all drop scores accounted for, and we should point out that all points scored from tonight's round of racing from all 3 races, those points are undroppable. It means that every point scored will go towards our drivers' total tally, so this is the round that really matters right now, and this is where we could see some championship aspirations be made or broken. But Mikey Doble leads overall on 275 points. An advantage of 31 points to Andrew Pike on 244. Andrew Pike and Jamie Dory have been battling back and forth for P2, but it's Pike who now stands the advantage ahead, and Mikey Doble is still within their grasp, but it does look as though things are going the way of the defending champion, and if Doble's able to pull off 3 consistent races today, like at Sonoma, then the title could be his. Meanwhile, behind Jamie Dory, we have Will Chadwick in P4, and what's most notable here is that P3 through to P5 are separated by only 2 points. Chadwick is in the middle of the next-gen race with Douglas Motorsport sandwich of Dory and Adam Delmont, and all 3 drivers are absolutely pushing hard to finish P3 in the championship, if not nip at the heels of Andrew Pike and Mikey Doble as well. But let's not count out Andrew Romy, P6 on 214 points, 12 behind, and Gavin Garner further 10 points behind in P7, who's fallen out of the top 5 so far this season, only once or twice, and has fallen out of it for the second time this season as of Sonoma. But you imagine the Audi driver with less success balance may be looking to make a late resurgence into the top 5. Joseph Doble, P8 there, the first time he's moved into P8 in the championship, on 188 points and doing very well, and looking to try and push for a top 5 finish come the end of the season, with Sam Smith and Daniel Homer behind P9, P10. And outside the top 10 by only 2 points, Martin Shirley in P11 behind Daniel Homer. The battle between the two of them for the P10 spot very well ignited. And then we have Marcello Reales ahead of John Higgins Jr., with Josh Millington and Alan McCain completing a top 15. Rafael Lobato's P16 on 108 points, sits clear of Michael Lease, with Michael Lease being your leading prime driver in the overall standings, holding an 8 points advantage over Damon McQueen, Wayne Douglas and Marco Benatelli completing a top 20. Outside the top 20, we've got Reese Watt P21 on 73 points, 11 clear of Matthew Cheverton, with Alex Meredith also there in the battle for P21 on 58 points. And we'll come to the prime standings in a minute and why these 3 names are very important in the prime championship battle. Neil Ferrier P24, 1 point clear of Lee Horn, with Andrea Talasco, Isaac Doble, James Holman, Matthew Addy and Darragh Effer to completing your top 30. And outside the top 30 P31, it's Benjamin McCluskey, 6 points clear of Linus Brostrom, while Melvin Erkerson, Nick Clivins and Paul Scott completing a run to P35. It's then Kieran Sharp in P36, who made his debut last time out and picking up some critical points on the board, now 18 points to his name, and looking to potentially charge for a top 30 finish come the end of the season today if he's able to get some major results on the board. And let's not forget Luke Jones there, P37 on 17 points, having a good day at Sonoma, ahead of Mark Sykes and Daniel Feder and Robert DeSunic complete your top 40. Outside the top 40, meanwhile, is James Spencer's Gout on 3 points and Palamaniti with 1 point to his name, and Gabriel Yilmaz with 0 points there, completing the run of drivers who have previously had points in the overall categorisation. And then drivers yet to score in the overall championship, Ian Manners ahead of Jackie Chalmers, with Jake Pitt, Jonathan Collins, Josh Brown, Matthew Jolly, Michael Kirtland, Phil McDougall all following through. And then from P52 downwards, drivers have got negative points due to post-round penalties applied. Tim Flanagan, Philip Ruberg, Chris Byram, Daniel Fritz, Marcello Felix, Philip Garside and Costa Chatscon Antonu. But we go from our overall championship then to our prime championship, and where in the pro class it looks like it's very close to the very top. Meanwhile, at the top of the prime standings, it's Michael Lease on 364 points. He has an advantage at this time of what is quite an unassailable, it would seem, advantage of 77 points over Isaac Doble. Now you may be wondering at this point, does that mean the championship is over? No, it technically is not. With a grand total of 82 points up for grabs in each and every round, theoretically Isaac Doble could overturn Michael Lease's advantage should Lease have the nightmare round of the NXTCC. We've never seen it happen so far, but you never know what can happen until the final checker flag is waved, but it should on paper be a formality for Lease to wrap up the title today. He could do it as early as race number 1. Still, for Isaac Doble, there's still plenty to play for in the fact he wants to be the runner-up after what's been an absolutely titanic drive from Isaac Doble over the course of the season, but he's under a lot of pressure now for Alex Meredith and Lee Horn, both on 260 points, for Meredith ahead of Horn based on result countback, and Doble's results last time out of Sonoma really not going his his way, and that's why he finds himself now in the close clutches of P3, P4. Reece Watt's only a further 9 points behind, with Matthew Cheverton also down 240 points and Matthew Addy on 233. What this means in reality is from P2 to P7 we have got 6 drivers battling for the runner-up spot as they're all separated by only 43 points. It's fantastic to see the sextet all together, and who is going to be the runner-up? That is the big question. Paul Scott on 200 points there in P8, looking to try and close the gap to the top 7, albeit he's got to worry about Linus Brostrom chasing him down, and Benjamin McCluskey completes the top 10, only 5 points clear of Luke Jones. Best of the rest driver Luke Jones is only ahead of Nick Clemens based on result countback, with Mark Sykes P13 on 116 points, 30 clear of Andrea Talasco, and Dario Furter completing the run to P15, behind the driver who looked of course to take a win in the Pro class last time out Sonoma, but it wasn't to be. Moen Eckerson P16 ahead of Phil McDougall by 2 points, with Paolo Maniti, Jonathan Collins and Ian Manners completing the top 20. As we look outside the top 20 of the primes, it's Jake Pitt P21, 5 clears James Smatskas with Daniel Fritz, Daniel Fadder and Ivan Bullcamp completing the run to P25. And it's Chris Byram who is 3 clear of Matthew Jolly, Marcello Felix, Michael Curl and Josh Brown in the run to P30. Gabriel Ewan still 1 point to his name, with Philip Bruberg on -2 points there due to post-round penalties, and the same can be applied to Dylan Flanagan, Philip Garside and Costa Chatscontinantino. But going on to the Teams Championship, with both of the Drivers' Championships unresolved, we can see here in the Teams Championship, it's still open as well. Next Gen Racing with Douglas Motorsport are the favourites with an advantage of 83 points over the Sim Racing Collective. But where the intrigue comes in the fact the battle for P2 is well and truly on. Last time out, it was Double Sim Racing who were leading the way, but a loss of points from all 3 of their drivers versus the Sim Racing Collective means now the tables have turned, and the TSRC team are looking to try and bring home that runner-up spot if they can't take the fight to Next Gen Racing with Douglas Motorsport for the overall crown. Meanwhile, Double Sim Racing we're looking to bounce back today. Keep your eyes out for the 3 Doble brothers of Isaac, Joseph and Mikey, with iRacing Esports a further 184 points behind and holding on to P4 with GRT Esport and VRGT Racing Team hot on their heels. P7 Next Gen Racing Yellow, who have only got 1 point over Meredith Motorsport as the battle between the 2 teams there carries on, and then Altus Esports and Bright Esports complete your top 10. Outside of the top 10 by 49 points is RD Sim Sports in P11, with Sergi Fortis Racing following through, then Aztec Racing, JW Motorsport and Next Gen Racing Blue complete your top 15, with Cuda E Motorsports P16, the last team to have points to their name in the Team's Championship, and yet score points Performance Link Esports, Charles Flanagan Racing and Biff Hornet and Epic Collective. But that's how our standings stand. Let's give you a quick insight as to our circuit for today. For it is none other than National A layout of the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg circuit. Located at the Am-Motterdrom in the town of Hockenheim in the state of Baden-Württemberg in Germany. This is a circuit, as you can see from our circuit map provided by iRacing.com. Thank you to them for their wonderful simulator and with it the brilliant circuit maps they've provided. This is a circuit which is really going to put the emphasis on technical ability. For we do not have the long run all the way out to the turn 6 hairpin that you see on the Grand Prix circuit. Instead, we have focused the circuit all around the technical arena sections with a couple of short straights to enable our drivers to get an opportunity to battle under braking, but it really does mean track position is going to be key here. And as our drivers make their way across the start-finish line, they'll notice over the entirety of the lap there's very little elevation change available to them. This is a very flat surface, and therefore, much like Silverstone at the season opener, we'll find that elevation change is not going to prevail. But instead, a good run through turn 1 will as they make their way through the Nord curve and make their way all the way out towards the Einfahrt Parabolica at turns 2 and 3. Exit out of the opening hairpin, they'll come through the kink of turn 4, before charging down Parabolica curve all the way out towards turn number 6. Heavy on the brakes there, we make our way into the double apex hairpin at turns 6 and 7, before doubling back into the Mercedes arena at turn number 8, named after Mercedes AMG Petronas, who have sponsored a number of grandstands at this circuit, and this is considered to be one of the homes of Mercedes AMG in Germany in terms of motorsporting team. And as they make their way through the left-hand right-angle corner at turn number 8, it's a run through the kink of 9 all the way out to the Mobile 1 curve at turn number 10. There it's all about confidence on carrying speed into the right-hander before going on to the brakes for the heavily cambered hairpin at turn number 11, and through the sweeping section at turns 12, 13, 14 and 15 to complete the lap and start it all over again, with the Sud curve really ending the lap on a high as they charge their way onto the next one. But as we get ready to go racing, we'd just like to give you a quick reminder of the rules. We won't dwell on them too much tonight, as we have got something special lined up in the show before we go racing. And we can see this is a fixed setup series with driver classes being finalised as of round 3. No driver class changes today and no new drivers expected to be on the grid. So we're going to see all the names of old racing today. Sprint race wise, the race 1 grid shall be set based on results of qualifying. The race 2 grid shall be set based on results of race 1. And the race 3 grid shall be a reverse grid based on results of race 2, with the reversal position being drawn live on air from the commentary booth between P13 and P23. And we look forward to that later on. We wonder what number is going to come. Last time, of course, it was P18 at Sonoma. Each race shall have one fast pair available in each race, and each race shall conclude either after the allotted lap amount of 12 laps or 30 minutes. We expect it to be 12 laps, with the race being anticipated to be around 20 minutes in duration. Now, we should remind you that an independent race director is stewarding the races for track limit infringements and the deployment of the safety car, and there will be a warning system in effect where penalties start to apply on the 4th, the 5th and the 6th warning, and drive-through penalties for the 6th warning must be served within 3 laps. All racing incidents, meanwhile, shall be reviewed post-round, and meanwhile, in the Success Ballast Stakes, we can see here the Success Ballast continues to be applied to the top 10 drivers in the overall Drivers' Championship, and Mikey Doble still holds the maximum Success Ballast of 56.1 kilograms, but the key things to note here, Andrew Pike moving into P2 with 48.2 kilograms. That means that Jamie Dory will have 8 kilograms less to worry about, and that could give him an advantage to strike back at Andrew Pike. But also, Gavin Garner moving down to 7th place in the championship, now 16.6 kilograms, and that could enable him in the Audi to really fly high and battle back against Andrea Romy and Adam Delmont. And also, Daniel Holmer, it's been some time since we've seen him inside the top 10, and he's got 4.7 kilograms of Success Ballast there for 10th place. That's enough about rules and regulation as we make our way back to the live circuit side pictures, ladies and gentlemen. And other drivers continue to make their way on around here, with only approximately 4.5 minutes to go before we do go into the qualifying session. We see Adam Delmont roaring his way across the timeline and onto another practice lap. He is currently the fastest driver out there with respect to what is his lap times, and he does look to be quite confident with his cornering abilities at the moment. And will that play out in practice? And still P2 as well. Andrea Talasco, the VRGT Racing Team Prime driver, really demonstrated himself coming alive here late on in the series. It does look as though some of the late circuits have really favoured his driving style, as the Audi driver there hits the opening curve a little bit too hard and breaks the front right suspension. That's going to be some repair work, there's no doubt about that. And Marco Benatelli from GRT Esport, we're not going to be seeing him take part in qualifying. He has picked up, due to post-round stewarding as of Sonoma, he has picked up a qualifying ban and will be starting from the pit lane for race 1 of today. But Benatelli, we know how fast he is, and he'll be looking to try and cut his way through the field as quickly as possible in race 1 to set himself up for success in races 2 and 3. But speaking of special things for the purposes of today's broadcast, we do look to Mikey Doble as he makes his way there through turn number 8, and as he does, we're very sure to get a patch through from the car of the Doble Sim Racing driver to hear his thoughts going into tonight. Indeed, we may be able to do so immediately now, as we do try to get an opportunity to have an interview with him, albeit we are going to try and catch him as he makes his way onto other straights, for the simple reason we don't necessarily want to distract him as he goes driving. But we're also going to be hearing from Andrew Pike and Jamie Dory, the top 3 in the overall championship, and we'll get a brief word from each of them to get their insights on how they're feeling for tonight. As Doble gets ready to make his way on through at turns at 16 and 17. 15 and 16, I should say, as we have taken one corner off the circuit. He makes his way on through, and well, without further ado, he does now begin to join me in the interview room as we do get the patch through line. And give us a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen, and we will have him available to us. And as he joins me now from the car, Mikey, can you hear me?
I've got you loud and clear, Paul.
Well, good evening to you, Mikey, and well, it is the season finale. You're leading the overall championship by 31 points. How are you feeling going into tonight?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting one. I mean, the gap is still not comfortable, not as comfortable as it was last season anyway. But yeah, the ballast is really hurting the Elantra around here. So yeah, I think I'm going to have my work cut out. As you can see in practice, only being P16. I'm going to be scrapping around for the lower points, but I think all the points I can grab are going to be vital, and if I can keep it on the island, hopefully that'll be good enough.
Well, indeed, it worked out for you at Sonoma. We saw a very calm, collected and consistent approach there, and I suspect it's going to be more of the same tonight.
That's the plan, but sometimes other people have other ideas as it goes in racing, but yeah, I'll be trying to keep my nose clean, try and not lose too many points to my rivals as I drive straight off there, and yeah, just try and it'd be nice to maybe get the championship wrapped up before the last race. I know that's not what the viewers will necessarily want, but that'll be my plan anyway.
Alrighty, Mikey, we'll wait and see if it plays out in practice for you, but the best luck for tonight, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Here and there from Mikey Doble, ladies and gentlemen, the Doble Sim Racing driver, with it all to play today and trying just to keep it calm, keep it collected and consistent to the finish line, and we're trying to take a similar approach to what he did in Sonoma last week. And will it work out for him? As he was saying there, the fact that other drivers may have other ideas in reference to the fact that it's all good in theory, but how will it work out in practice? But meanwhile, as our drivers all do get themselves set, we are going to try and get a patch through to Andrew Pike when we can. In fact, we may be able to get a word from Andrew Pike at the moment, albeit he's not out on circuit, but I believe he is down in the pit lane, available for a quick conversation, as we do try to get a word with Andrew now. Good evening to you, Andrew. Can you hear me?
I can, yes. Good evening.
Andrew, you're second in the overall championship. It's a close battle between yourself and Jamie Dory for the runner-up spot, but also Mikey Doble's not too far away. How are you feeling for tonight?
Realistic, above all. I mean, they've done the track selection's good, and all of the cars seem fairly well matched. But as Mikey said, the heavier cars are suffering a little bit. So I need to score quite a lot of points to stand a chance. So it all hinges on qualifying here. I need Mikey to not have a very good time, and for me to have a great set of results. So realistically, I think Jamie is scrapping for P2, aren't we? But you never know. If it goes my way, then I'll do everything I can to try and get as many points as possible, you know.
Oh, indeed. Well, qualifying's now getting underway, so we'll leave you to it, but the best of luck for tonight.
Thank you very much, mate. Thanks a lot.
So hearing there quickly from Andrew Pike, who we let go immediately as qualifying got underway for the simple reason we don't want to distract the gentleman from going racing. However, we will have an opportunity to have a brief word with Jamie Dory, third place in the overall championship, and he has advised us that he's available for a quick word in the opening couple of laps of qualifying, as we do try to catch him now and get a patch through from his car. And I believe we have Jamie Dory online. Good evening to you, Jamie. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Jamie, qualifying is just getting underway and you're getting warmed up, so we won't keep you too long. We've heard from Mikey, we've heard from Andrew, but how are you feeling for tonight? Third place in the overall championship, but it's all to play for.
Yeah, excited. I mean, it's there to lose, but yeah, I've got a strong team around me, so we're there trying to make it work.
Indeed, it's going to be a challenge out there as well, but the Veloster seems to go well at these more technical circuits. Are you feeling the Veloster plus the lower success balance compared to your peers may give you an advantage?
Oh, I don't know about that. The last section's very Honda dependent. The Audi's very quick down the straight. We'll just have to drag it round. I mean, I am feeling the weight, so we'll have to see how it goes from there, really.
Well, we wish you the best luck getting underway with qualifying, and we'll see you at the checker flag.
All right, Paul, thanks.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've heard words from all three of our championship leaders in the overall championship. We will try and catch up with our leaders in the Prime Championship between the races, but as they do get ready to go on to their opening qualifying laps, it definitely does look as though it's going to feel a little bit edgy down the paddock for Jamie Dory, also for Andrew Pike, waiting to see how things will play out, and also for Mikey Doble. It does seem as though they're all just keeping their expectations, tempering them carefully, and wondering what is going to lie in wait. But with only 15 minutes of qualifying here and a lap time in the region of approximately 1 minute 40, it does mean that they've not got too many laps in order to try and get the best possible lap they can on the board. And in the Prime class, I think that is also going to be a huge contingent factor for that battle for P2, as we do look for Alex Meredith here, battling for P3 at the moment versus Lee Horn, but well within arm's reach of P2 of Isaac Doble as he rolls his way through turns at 6 and 7 there, the double right hairpin, and coming on out and up towards turn 8 he goes. Well, we'll be trying to catch a word with him when we can, as Aura drives and get ready to go. We do say hello there to a good number of you in the YouTube chat. We can see Catherine Meredith in particular looking forward to tonight's racing. Also to Alan Luke, who says this layout is brilliant for TCRs. Indeed, the National A layout to the Hockenheimring. We did a lot of research because we said we wanted to do the Hockenheimring, and we did it prior to the season. A number of us in the admin team at NXTGEN Racing sat down and thought, should we do National A, National B, or do one of the other layouts? And in the end, we all nodded and went National A is the one to go for. And we can see Alan Luke cheering on Ian Manners. And we're speaking of Ian Manners, where is he out on circuit at the moment? He is here in the JW Motorsport Honda Civic Type R as he makes his way on through, turn at number 10 up towards 11 he goes, and as he does here, well, Manners has really been one of those drivers who joined a little bit later compared to the rest of his JW Motorsport teammates, but he's made himself felt in the Prime class, battling towards the bottom end of the top 10, but every time he's out there you can't help but smile to see him fighting hard with the machine, and as he makes his way through turns 15 and 16 right now, going on to his second qualifying lap shortly with teammate, I believe that is Luke Jones, tucked in behind him, and we'll have to wait and see how they line up together, whether they're trying to do a little bit of teamwork here just to give themselves a bit of an edge on the speed as we see Manners crossing the line. That's not a valid lap, however, Manners, and that's Reese Watt behind him, in fact, with a 34.570, and Reese Watt going P10 overall. We've only got 11 to 12 times on the board so far, with a grand total of at least 30 drivers out there on circuit today. You would imagine we've still got more times to come on in as Nick Clemens launches his way up into P2 in the overall standings in the iRacing Esports Audi RS3 with a 33.977. That is an early lap, so he's starting to break into the 33s. We're probably going to have mid to low 33s as the target pole time around here, but slipstream is not going to necessarily be a huge factor, because we do take a brief breather from talking about our drivers. What can we expect in qualifying for today in terms of the cars and also how our drivers will play this qualifying session? Well, firstly, let's talk about the slipstream. We have seen over the course of the last 9 rounds building up to today a number of circuits where drivers are really wanting to be close behind one another to benefit from the toe of another car on the straight, and then have to negotiate the dirty air of the car going into the corners and the excess understeer it generates. Around here, if you want a toe, you want it on the first half of the lap, you want it on the run across the start finish line, up through turns 1 and 2 and all the way around to turns 6 and 7. Beyond that point, you want to try and get rid of the toe, because you then got shorter straights and much bigger focus on corners. So therefore we can imagine if teams are going to work together, they'll most likely sacrifice one driver's lap and let them lead the other car around through the opening 6 corners, at which point they'll back off and break away and let the car behind focus on the arena sections. And that could be where about 2 to 3 tenths of lap time can be unlocked in the lap. Beyond that, in terms of how we're expecting the cars to lap against one another, this circuit does lean more towards the Honda, given the Honda is the cornering car of the group, albeit the Honda also does have some sensitivity with regards to its tyre temperatures in the early stages of the race. In fact, it takes a lot of effort to get the tyres up to temperature, as we see the Honda of Lee Horn making its way down towards turn number 6, but once it's up to temperature, it really does come alive. Plus, the brakes in the Honda are the strongest in the field, but it does lack the top end speed, which is required to maximise those brakes in the run from turn 1 to 2, and also at turn 2 all the way towards turn number 6. So it's an interesting trade-off. Meanwhile, the one lap pace car of where's the Hyundai Elantra, which we always talk about as being that car which is able to deliver over a single lap, but does seem a little bit exposed on the longer term duration of the race when tyre degradation becomes a factor, and we see one being driven by Paolo Maniti here for GRT Esports. We're expecting the Elantra to be consistent as always as it makes its way down towards turn number 6. And an interesting little fact for you, ladies and gentlemen, if Mikey Doble secures the overall championship today, it will be the first time in the NXTGEN's history that the overall championship has been won by a different car other than the Honda Civic Type R. It was the Honda Civic Type R that took the championship in Season 1, also in Season 2, going from Jamie Dory to Mikey Doble, but Doble looking to defend his championship in the Hyundai Elantra. Well, that'll be a first for the books when it comes to the overall classification. But as Maniti makes his way on through it, meanwhile the Veloster, we did hear the thoughts of Jamie Dory, feeling as though he could feel the weight of the success ballast in the car, but the Veloster being the jack of all trades, master of none, it could go well here, and I think Matthew Addy will be able to try and exploit its characteristics as best as possible as he comes on through turns 15 and 16, and meanwhile we also have the Audi RS3, the car that has really been hit or miss over the course of the season, but as we do look to what is, I do believe, goodness me, it's going to be Paul Scott making his way on through there, and we can see right now the 2 Audi drivers of Paul Scott, and also alongside him, I believe that is none other than Andrea Romy. The 2 of them siphon one another around, and Romy moves up to P18 on a 33.460. The Audi could be quite strong over the first half of the lap, and indeed it's a very stable car as long as it's not overexposed to those high curves, which we'll see on the corner apexes, particularly in the arena section. So the Audi could have some life around here, and one driver who's definitely demonstrating that, Gavin Gardner, as he makes one through the next generation Douglas Motorsport driver, running proud in pink as he heads up towards turn number 10. As he comes to the right hand, that's the first stop of the qualifying session done and dusted already. We've still got 7.5 minutes on the board, and we do say hello to even more of you there in the YouTube chat, including James B, GP2. Great to have you with us, James. I'm glad to hear you enjoying the commentary. We've also got John at Meredith there, who's cheering on Alex Meredith, the Meredith fan group and family out in full force. We also say hello to John Higgins Sr. there, who is cheering on, I do believe, Mr. Fish, and in turn that will be Andrew Pike, effectively the nickname given to Andrew Pike, given the fact that his surname, if you're not familiar in the fishing world, there is a type of fish known as a pike, and that's where he gets the nickname from. And we also say hello there to Handsome Shoe and to Helen Cox. Helen Cox cheering on Jamie Dory. But as all of our drivers make the way on through and around here, well, now we're starting to see some indicative times come on board. Jamie Dory, the fastest lap of the session so far, of 32.808 as he comes on down into turn number 2 here, and we'll very shortly get on board with one of our drivers as they go on to the fast lap. Joseph Doble moves up to P5 on a 33.029, so it's Veloster, Honda, and then another Veloster before a Honda, and then we have an Audi, but no Elantras up there immediately at the moment, although I say that Alex Meredith is the fastest Brown driver right now, and he is P7 overall, so there is some life in the Elantra just yet as number 44 driver makes his way down towards turn number 6, so it's all open at the moment. I think Meredith here really trying to push that pole position in the Prime class for the simple reason he wants that P2 in the championship. He's really been pushing hard for it all season to finish inside the top 5. His goal, if I remember correctly, was to finish inside the top 5 and not go for a podium spot. And now I think the reality of the podium has really come alive as he makes his way through, turns 8 to 9 and up towards 10. But as he follows behind Lee Horn, his main rival in the battle for P3, he's got him well and truly firmly in his sights. Well, he's still got more to do here if he wants to keep himself safe, as Nick Clibbins, meanwhile, is only currently 400ths off, and indeed 400ths is not a lot of time in the world of the NXTCC. As he heads up towards turn number 8 here, Clibbins has really gone from strength to strength in the second half of the season, has found a lot of lap time in qualifying. His qualifying sessions earlier on in the season were no slouch by comparison as well, but the difference being there, he wasn't quite able to put himself right up in contention for the top 3 spots of the Prime class, but now he is constantly hitting the top 3 in the Prime class. The only thing that has continued to blight him to a degree is a bit of bad luck with regards to race starts, where he's been involved in incidents that are not necessarily his fault, and that's not providing the insurance commercial, indeed, as well as injury lawyers for you, but it is just one of the things that has played out for Nick Clemens in the fact he's been at the wrong end of the stick, much like Reece Watt in fact. And Reece Watt perhaps has been the Prime driver who has had so much pace in class all season, but every time he's been on pole, something has happened to him. As we see Reece Watt making his way wide out of turn 1, something has happened to him as soon as he's got the race underway. And the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit in particular, he qualified so well to be on pole ahead of Michael Lees, only to find after turn 1 he was at the back of the field for an instant. He ended up getting entangled in. As he makes his way on through it. Meanwhile, we do start to make our way on to a flying lap with one of our drivers, and I think we are going to get on board very shortly with what will be none other, than Adam Delman that is coming up. And here is Adam Delman as he makes his way through the cambered hairpin of turn number 11, now sweeping his way through 12, 13 and 14. We're very shortly going into 15, 16 to complete the lap and start it all over again. And we now jump on board here with the Honda Civic Type R driver as he charges on around. So as he makes his way up towards turn number 1, building up the speed here, doing a little bit of bobbing and weaving in fact, and I think this actually may be just a warm-up lap as he gets himself set, but we'll stay with it all the way through. Going on through there, clipping the apex curve, not taking too much of it, but not too little either, as he powers his way up through the gearbox into 5th gear, now looking to his left-hand side for turn number 2. Here braking at the 100 metre board, deciding to go for as early an apex as possible to get the car rotated on the high curve, through 2, through the kink of 3 and now on towards 4, now powering his way all the way down the straight, or the curve straight at Parabolica, up towards the premature hairpin at turn number 6. Now you'll see the braking zone markers are not too distinct at first, and they suddenly appear, and he's going to be braking the 100 metre marker there, about 95 metres from corner apex, trying to drag the car on the brakes into the apex, and then making it to the second apex at turn number 7 and powering out, where it's a short run up towards the Mercedes arena. Bringing the car over to the right side, breaking down from 3rd to 2nd, clips the apex curve again, not taking the high apex curve this time, just rolling it over the flat, and as he comes into turn number 9, upshifts to 3rd, just lifts off the throttle, lets the car coast into the apex, will run it wide, full throttle now up towards turn number 10. Here it's all about carrying speed into the right-hander. It's a sweeping right-hander, 4th gear initially, stays in 4th all the way through so he can get the power down a little bit earlier and not worry about understeer. And then up towards turn number 11, braking at the 50 board. He can see how cambered the apex is now as he comes on through. 2nd gear, powers out, uses all the runoff area there. They're allowed to run onto the curb through 12 into 13, 14. As he heads onto the brakes here for turn number 15, coming on through the right-hander, 3rd gear all the way now as he keeps the car nice and wide before turning into 16 to complete the lap and do it all over again. And that is a lap of the Hockenheimring at Baden-Württemberg National A circuit, as brought to you by Adam Delmont. As he makes his way onwards towards turn number 1. I think that was more of a setup lap of 33.867, albeit his best has been a 33.12, so not too far off for a lap that's really been getting the tyres into the zone. But we are now starting to head into the crunch time, and well, on provisional pole now, it's John Heans Jr. for the Sim Racing Collective, indeed the TSRC team, really trying to push hard with the fact they've got 2 drivers, in fact for all 3 of their drivers, in terms of those battling championship drivers, are inside the top 5, albeit Millington's just been pushed out of it by Cameron Gardner, but it's P1 for Higgins Jr., P4 for Sharp, and then it's P6 for Millington, but the one we're waiting to see move up there is Pike in P17 right now. Andrew Pike really feeling, I think, the strain of the success ballast on the car. Higgins Jr. a little bit less success ballast by comparison, and meanwhile Kieran Sharp no success ballast, and same for Josh Millington. So it does go to show that weight is really hurting drivers when they're up against the wall. And meanwhile Wayne Douglas P2 at this time, and will the Douglas Motorsport driver then in collaboration with NXTGEN Racing definitely right now, I think, feeling as though it's going to be a potential pole on the cards if he can nail this next lap. But meanwhile, one driver is trying to get himself further up the order. There's the bright esports driver, Daniel Holmer. He's just gone P22 of a 33.608, but he's left it quite late in qualifying. Only really put his first time in around the 8-minute mark, and therefore Holmer right now on the back foot. Meanwhile, the story in the Pro-Am class is that Michael Lees is your current provisional pole sitter by only 300 over Andrea Talasco, and the gap between the two of them could not be close. It's battle of the Lantra versus Audi RS3, and meanwhile we've got Ian Manners in P3 in the Pro-Am class, P11 overall, with Manners on course to potentially get his season best qualifying performance there, ahead of Alex Meredith. But given the fact the top 10 are separated by only 2.5 tenths, if that, and indeed right now the top 25 are separated by just under a second, that goes to show you how close it is in this field. Indeed, every lap time is critical, as we have 35 cars out on circuit today. Of course, Benatelli not able to qualify due to a post-round penalty from round number 9 last time out. With 30 seconds left on the board, our drivers now will be going on to their final qualifying laps if they're not already onto them. You see Mikey Doble there, P17 currently, tucked in behind one of his brothers. I believe that may be just in front of him, none other than what is, I do believe, Joseph Doble, and Joseph right now trying to give Mikey a little bit of a tow in the early stage of the lap here to help him out with regards to that qualifying time. They've only got 10 seconds left on the boards. This will be the final lap. Most drivers trying to get onto a final lap now. I think some will just miss out on it, as meanwhile Jonathan Collins heads towards the timeline. He'll be the first driver to cross the line. Not able to set a new time. He's currently P32. Will he be able to improve with the fact he has got Daniel Holmer behind? Collins does not improve by looks of things, and Holmer stays P22 but does improve to 33.376. We've then got Luke Jones starting to come through. Martin Shirley just improved to P22, demoting Holmer to P23. Close between the two drivers there, but as we do see Jones making his way through the final corner. What's it going to be here for the JW Motorsport driver? Currently P33, 2.1 seconds of the overall pole time. And can Jones find a way of improving? He improved in Sector 1. He does not improve overall. Adam Delman has made his way into the pit lane. Meanwhile, we've next got Kieran Sharp making his way on around, as you do see here, the number 23 car, known as Sharpie. That's his nickname down in the Sim Racing Collective group. And as he makes his way through turn number 16 towards the timeline, what's it going to be here for Sharp as he comes on through? Currently P4, only 300ths off a pole. Can he find even more time? He's gone purple in the final sector. He goes provisional pole. It's a 32.778. Now, can anybody respond? Higgins Jr. is into the pits. He can't find the time. We've got plenty more drivers coming through, including Joseph Doble here, who I think has lost Mikey Doble somewhere along the path. So therefore, Mikey Doble started quite low. Joseph Doble does not improve. What about Josh Millington? He sets a purple sector 2, but it's not enough to improve from P5. Meanwhile, we've also got going around there Andrew Romy. Romy's one to watch out for, given the fact he's been very fast in qualifying as of late. Improves in sector 1, does not improve on the rest of the lap. And then we have got, I do believe, the car of Jonathan Collins making his way to the pit lane. So that's qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen. And it is Kieran Sharp who takes his first pole position of the season, and what a better time to do so. And it's John Higgins Jr. who lines up alongside him on the front row. It will be a Sim Racing Collective lockout on the front row, with Douglas and Dory behind for Next Gen Racing with Douglas Motorsport. And meanwhile, in the Pro-Am class, it's Michael Lees who starts on the fourth row, P7, taking pole position, when Andrea Talasco alongside him, separated by only 300ths in the end. It was an absolutely stellar qualifying session in terms of how close it was. And well, meanwhile, you've got P3, P4 in the Pro-Am class starting on your sixth row of the grid, Ian Manners and Alex Meredith. So it's going to be fireworks into turn 1. I can guarantee you that right now. And who is going to come out on top? But the biggest surprise of them all, Mikey Doble starting P17, and well, just behind him, Andrew Pike. So the two of them together, and Jamie Dory finding P4 out there. This could yet swing the way of Dory in the overall championship. We'll keep you updated on how that progresses as time goes on, but let's progress to race number 1. So as our drivers make their way onto the grid, this is how they line up for the first race of the day. It's Kieran Sharp who starts on pole position for the Sim Racing Collective, joined by teammate John Higgins Jr. Behind them, it's Wayne Douglas for Next Gen Racing with Douglas Motorsport and teammate Jamie Dory. Now on row number 3, it's Josh Millington for the Sim Racing Collective, joined by Gavin Garner for the Next Gen Racing with Douglas Motorsport. Then we have on row number 4, the Pro-Am pair of Michael Lees, your Pro-Am pole sitter for Next Gen Racing Yellow, ahead of VRGT Racing Team's Andrea Talasco. Andrea Romy and Joseph Doble line up on your 5th row for GRT Esport and Double Sim Racing respectively, with then P11 going to best the rest, Ian Manners of JW Motorsport, joined by his prime rival of Meredith Motorsports, Alex Meredith. On row number 7, we have Nick Clibbins and Isaac Doble for iRacing Esports and Douglas Sim Racing respectively, followed up by Adam Delman for NXTGEN Racing with Douglas Motorsport and JW Motorsports Reese Watt on the 8th row. On row number 9, it's the pair of Mikey Doble for Double Sim Racing and Andrew Pike for the Sim Racing Collective, two of the major belligerents in the overall championship battle, with Matthew Shepperton for Aztec Racing and Matthew Addy for NXTGEN Racing Yellow qualifying on the 10th row. Outside the top 20, starting P21, it's Lee Horn for NXTGEN Racing Yellow and Martin Shirley for RD Simsport, followed up by Daniel Horn for Bright Esports and Mark Sykes for NXTGEN Racing Blue on the P24 on the 12th row. And then we have on the 13th row of the grid, Linus Brostrom for Bright Esports, followed up by Altus Esports' William Chadwick, who's racing on an Xbox 360 controller today, as we're to understand it, with Sam Smith starting on the 14th row for iRace Esports, joined by Paolo Maniti for GRT Esport. Then we have Daniel Fritz Whiskey Runners Race for NXTGEN, followed up by Paul Scott for NXTGEN Racing Blue on the 15th row. And then on row number 16, it's Jay Pitt for Aztec Racing and Jonathan Collins for NXTGEN Racing Blue. And on the 14th row, it's JW Motorsports, Luke Jones, followed by James Mansfield for Aztec Racing. And starting from the pit lane, Marco Benatelli, P35 of 35 cars. But that is the grid all set, ladies and gentlemen. We are only now moments away from going racing, approximately 10 seconds away from the lights out procedure. It's Sharp and Higgins Jr. on the front row of the grid. It's a Sim Racing Collective lockout for the first time this season. Can they make it 1-2 at the finish line? Here come the lights. 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out, away we go for race 1 at the Hockenheimring as Kieran Sharp gets a good start off the line. John Higgins Jr. follows in behind, but look at Wayne Douglas looking up the inside immediately into turn number 1. It's going to be close here as they make their way through the right hand, and you can see how Higgins Jr. giving the space, but Douglas has to back off as they make their way out towards turn number 2. Most drivers making it through cleanly so far as we're to understand. You can see the long scrabble there, Andrew Romy taking a bit of an inside line under braking there, and where it's a long charge under braking. Gavin Garner having to try and fend off Michael Lees, who's launched incredibly well for the start, and as they make their way on through the parabolic curve, it does look as though everybody making their way through safely here. We've also got Matthew Addy holding off with Reese Watt and Lee Horn. Lee Horn's had a bit of a difficult start as Reese Watt tries to make some progress, but as they all make their way down towards turn number 6, Josh Millington here losing out versus Jamie Dory. Dory on the inside, under braking, trying to work Wayne Douglas, gets ahead of teammate here. Millington sees the doors open and tries to force his way through as well as they make their way towards turn number 8. Douglas defends on the inside here, trying to cover off Millington as Millington really pushing Dory along to try and get the hurry up. Meanwhile, Gavin Garner also coming on through as they all scramble through turn number 8 and 9, and as they make their way on around Andrea Romy, still trying to batter his way on past Michael Lees. They head up towards turn number 10, and a couple of cars go wide, but everybody survives. They make their way towards 10 now. Under braking they go. It will be approximately 3 wide at the back out in the end. Romy decides not to fight this. Meanwhile, Michael Lees versus Joseph Doble takes turn. Joseph Doble gets ahead. And Manners behind Alex Meredith there as Meredith goes a little bit deep into turn number 11. The JW Motorsport driver here trying to battle hard for P2. Michael Lees has been allowed to run away, but Manners there on the outside of 13 as they go into 14-15 as they come into the right-hander. Meredith fighting back here side by side as they come towards the end of lap number 1. But look at this, Andrea Talasco. Talasco goes up the inside, and it's 3 wide on the exit of turn 16 as they make their way down towards turn number 1 once again. Onto lap 2, we've got a car going well, and that's Michael Lees who catches the car, but he's been collected at Andrea Romy. Ian Manners is into the wall as well. It's a disaster for many as they're all into the barrier, and we'll have to take a look back at that very shortly as to what's happened. We've got iRace Esports car taking a bit of a rally cross line as well. I believe that was the car of what was none other. I'm trying to understand who it was in particular. I think it may have been Sam Smith getting it wrong, but it does look as though we've got a major incident to try and dissect as the racing carries on lap number 2. But after 1 lap of racing, it is Kieran Sharp who leads the way ahead of John Higgins Jr. P2, followed by Jamie Dory P3, Gavin Garner P4, and then Wayne Douglas P5. Joseph Doble P6, chasing after Wayne Douglas as the top 6 of pros, and then we have Andrea Talasco, who is your prime leader at the moment, having got ahead of Michael Lees at the end of lap number 1. He holds on to lead with Michael Lees struggling right now, and I think there's damage on that car as Mikey Doble looks up the inside, trying to make the move here for P8, gets it done as Lees is elbowed wide there, but we try to squeeze Doble in return. They're still battling side by side as they make their way through. Safety car has been deployed. We should point out, ladies and gentlemen, Slade will be racing up to the start-finish line at the end of this lap, and then we will be under safety car racing conditions. But as they make their way up towards turn number 10, Lees gets back ahead of Doble. Doble not deciding to risk it there, understandable, given the fact he's got more to lose. And as they head on to braking into turn number 11, while drivers coming through the left-hander at the moment, it's still Meredith holding on against Nick Clibbins, with Clibbins under pressure from Matthew Sheraton. But as I drive, oh my good lord, and what on earth has just happened there? Sheraton just up into the stratosphere, and well, we do have the safety car out now. as our drivers catch up to the safety car on lap 3, but Matthew Cheverton slightly off camera there, the car being launched into the sky, and we'll have to take a look back at that as everyone scrambles for positions here as they come across the timeline. They have to stop racing once they cross the start-finish line and go on to another lap, and now the racing will be neutralised. But it's an absolutely dramatic opening to the first race of the final round of the season, and well, now that we're able to finally catch our breath, I can tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, we have got a lot to take a look back at, and I think the story is all going to start with what happened on lap number 1, beginning with Mark Sykes being involved in an incident going through turns 1 and 2, and here's a replay. So as they made the way out of the opening corner, Sykes on the inside here, you can see William Chadwick trying to find some space, and in the end, all 3 drivers been collected together, Chadwick and also Daniel Holmer. Oh goodness me, and that's a disaster. Holmer able to get away with it mostly, but Mark Sykes and Chadwick really bearing the brunt of the damage between the two of them, and unfortunate for the pair. Then we did have a following incident after that as Sykes just had to limp the car on around. We will try and take a look at what exactly happened, and here's a replay of Daniel Holmer later on the opening lap of the race as he made his way on through. In fact, just going a bit wide there through turns 15 and 16, so no major foul or harm done. But then we did have the incident going on to the start-finish straight. You can see it there in the towards the background, now the foreground of the camera, and we're going to try and understand exactly how that occurred. And here is a replay from Ian Maness's perspective as he charged on through. So the damage was already done there with Michael Lees and Andrea Romy coming together. So we really need the replay from their perspective, and we will try and get that very shortly. But Manners are really the victim of these circumstances. But as we take another look back here, this was from Michael Lees's perspective. So comes out the final corner, balanced side by side, contact with Andrew Romy, was on his outside, catches the car once, catches it twice, but in the end he can't correct it a third time, and as he tries to get it pointed, into contact there with was Romy, but actually able to survive it. I think Romy in the end gets further contact, and that is what upsets the balance of the cars. We take a look from the exterior camera now, and I think this will tell us the full story as they make the one to the start-finish straight, albeit the billboard there in our way, but as we can see, Lee's trying to control the car, Romy there being tapped, I think, from Joseph Doble, and Adam Delman being caught up, and that's what caused it all to unfold. Lee Horn also being collected there, Horn coming into the scene of the incident, another car, Jonathan Collins coming to the scene of the incident. It was absolute carnage on the start-finish straight, but we really do want to see the perspective of Andrea Romy's car, and in fact we may be able to get that now, as we do have an opportunity to take another look back, and this was Andrea Romy, who's now the focus of our cameraman's attention as he made his way out of the corner, contact release there, the two of them squabbling for ground, and as they made the way across the line, so Romy backed off here, and you'll see that Joseph Doble pranged to the rear of Romy's car, I think not realising that Romy's backed off to avoid a further incident, and then from that point onwards, it's like a line of dominoes, as you can see, cars coming on, and that's what happened to the iRacing eSports car, was Sam Smith being collected by Adam Delman as he fishtailed back onto the circuit, and that was major drama going on to the next lap. But beyond that, ladies and gentlemen, we return to our live pictures, and right now we are still under the safety car conditions as we are on lap number 4 of 12. As our drivers make the way on around, it is going to be a delayed restart here, given the fact we have got quite a few drivers out of position. And the idea behind the safety car is we can't wait for everybody to get firmly back onto the pack, but we want every driver, as a minimum, to have an opportunity to get themselves back onto the lead lap, or if they are a lap down, at least get back to the pack a lap down. So we will have to wait and see how this all plays out. But a number of drivers really lucky not to be caught in that incident. Very well observed there by John Meredith. Alex Meredith right in the scene of the incident. Revocable saying mega crash. Indeed, it was, and with everybody coming together there, we have had a shake-up in the field. So in terms of drivers who've been shaken quite heavily by it and stirred to move their way up the order, Michael Lees now behind Andrea Talasco, so we've got a top two in the Prime class there together. But meanwhile, some of the biggest gainers out of all of it, Linus Broström, who has gained 13 places. He started from P25 on the grid. The Bright Esports driver is now P12 overall, and he's gained 7 places in Prime to move up to P5 in class and P12 in class. So Linus Broström really benefiting. Also a good solid start from Broström. And the thing about the number 71 driver from Sweden is if you can count on anybody to steer clear of danger and gain places through attrition, he is one of the drivers out there who definitely is able to do so. But as our drivers make the way on around here, have we got anything else to report with regards to incidents? Not at this time, it would seem. But I have had it in my ear, ladies and gentlemen, that when we get to the end of lap number 5, we will be going green next time around. So therefore, for Kieran Sharp, he'll be aware of this. He'll be informed soon. As you can see, there's a safety car staying on the back of it. Safety car stay back. But as they all make the way on around here, all the drivers getting set and ready to go once again. And well, for Kieran Sharp, he'll know next time he's got to go racing in angle once more. But as they make the way on around here, definitely a dramatic early stage of the race, and it is going to cost us a lot of race time, but it will also do, it will only encourage the impetus to be higher when we do resume the racing. And for Gavin Gardner, Next Gen Racing Douglas Motorsport right now is definitely going to feel that it's up to him here to try and work with Jamie Dory to get as many points as possible for the team and make sure that team's championship comes their way as they make their way up towards turn number 2. Coming on through the right-hander here. He'll want to try and give himself a little bit of space too, Dory, as they get racing and as they make the way up towards turn number 4. We've just had the announcement going, so all of our drivers at the safety car will be in at the end of this lap. The safety car being piloted by Gaz Williams, who we normally see as well, our GT3 racers at Next Gen, but right now acting as our safety car driver for the purposes of the NXTGEN. We're very grateful to him as always, and as they make the way up towards turn number 6 right now, going onto the brakes and coming into the right-hander. Well, meanwhile, further down the old Alex Meredith, where he did pick up some damage on the car by looks into the Meredith Motorsport driver, is down in P26 at the moment. We're not quite sure what happened to Alex Meredith, but we believe he had to come into the pits due to some damage, and it was an extended time in the pits, and the Meredith Motorsport driver definitely now feeling the pain down in P13 in the Pro-Am class, and with that, Lee Horn P10 in the Pro-Am class, so it's not too much of a gap between them, and indeed, for the Pro-Am drivers right now, well, Michael Lees thinks as they are currently standing in this race, he will take the Pro-Am Championship with 2 races to spare. Meanwhile, in the battle between Isaac Doble, Alex Meredith and Lee Horn, the 3 main belligerents in the battle for P2, well, Isaac Doble is just behind Lee Horn, so it's completely open between them. But as our drivers make the way on around here right now, Kieran Sharp is starting to back the car from the safety car. We are ready to go resume racing, ladies and gentlemen, as he makes his way through turns 12 and 13. Remember, he can only go racing once the safety car is coming into the pit, and we now monitor the speed as he makes his way to the right-handers. And he goes on the final corner. We're back green flag racing once again, ladies and gentlemen. There's only 7 laps to remain as we go on to lap number 6 of 12. And as Kieran Sharp charges up towards turn number 1, John Higgins Jr. staying with him as they make their way through the opening right-hander. It's tight, it's close, and as they charge up towards turn number 2, Wayne Douglas going slightly wide. They're all over the back of Joseph Doble, however, is Andrea Talasco. Talasco trying to make further overall ground as they make their way onto the brakes into turn number 2. Meanwhile, further back, Josh Millington trying to find a way past what is there, Sam Smith in the battle of the 2 pros. The P18 goes around the outside. Smith defends on the inside here, but it is possible to go outside to inside through turns 2 through to 4. You just got to be brave, and that's exactly what Millington has done as he makes his way up towards turn number 6, gets the overspeed, he's got the toe as well, and this will be enough here for Millington to feel safe under braking if he's able to extract the leverage of the brakes. But Smith comes in very hot there and says no. Oh goodness me, and Lee Horn comes in like a ballistic missile, I think misses his braking point, and Sam Smith is sent to the barrier. Lee Horn goes wide there and lets Smith rejoin ahead of him, but definitely drama there as we've got further contact, I believe, between what is there, Andrew Pike and Paul Scott. Andrew Pike missing the front bumper, we should point out, but as all tries to make the way on around. Meanwhile, Mikey Doble, by looks of things, being passed by a whole swathe of drivers. In fact, Michael Lees has fallen out, and Mikey Doble as well. Same a lot of drama's happened here. We're not quite sure what's happened. We're going to find out shortly, but a lot of cars are now stockading up towards what is the pros here, and it's the primes who are all fighting their way through. You've got Linus Brosh and Michael Lees, Jake Pitt, and also Daniel Fritz trying to carve the way around Mikey Doble. Doble seems to be struggling. There's a problem with that car. It's not looking healthy as he makes his way into turn number 15. Comes on through, fighting with the car all the way around as they go onto lap number 7 of 12, and as he makes one through now, Doble's dropped down from P8 to P12. Meanwhile, behind them, Michael Lees, and what is there? Well, Jake Pitt trying to cut the inside Michael Lees. Lees, I think, still running with some wounds in the Next Gen Racing Yellow Elantra as they head into the opening corner. A bit of contact there, and further back, Daniel Fritz getting it wrong on the corner. Car hits the wall, and as it comes across there, everybody able to avoid the Wayward Whiskey Runners Racing Elantra as it's just parked in the middle of the road, but over the racing line, and thankfully it should mean, albeit not to belittle him, it's only one driver who ends up in that instant. But meanwhile, as we look back here to Millington versus Isaac Doble and Andrew Pike, well, Isaac Doble right now really trying to push on here with the fact I think he's heard from his teammates that right now Michael Lees is struggling with the car, and Lees is only a couple of places up the road. But meanwhile, Jake Pitt getting ahead of Isaac Doble under braking into turn number 6. The Aztec Racing driver trying to take some points for his prime rival. And Alex Meredith up the inside there, of Luke Jones. Also Sam Smith going a bit deep into turn 6 and 7. It's pandemonium here in Germany, I can definitely tell you that, as they make the way into turn number 8. And as all the drivers push on here. Well, right now this is only race 1 of 3 today, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to imagine how tense it's going to be on the opening lap of race number 3 if this is the given rate of procedure. But as they make the way out to turn number 9 up towards 10. Meanwhile, Paul Scott here looking for the move on the inside versus Isaac Doble. But I think Isaac Doble's got some damage to the car, with something is definitely trailing off the left-hand side edge of the driver's perspective. And you can see, meanwhile, now Pitt trying to look at the inside. Paul Scott around the outside still. Isaac doing everything he can to keep his prime rivals at bay. He wants those points so desperately to hold him to P2 in the championship. But I do wonder whether that damage is only going to get worse and worse as time goes on. Whereas they make the way through turn 15 to 16. Isaac Doble does have to go into the pit lane. He carry on, and well, he's been able to hold them up as much as possible. But now Paul Scott will be released and moves into P7 in the prime class, P18 overall. Sam Smith behind it. It's his rivals of Pitt, Meredith, Addy and Cheverton are all closing up with Meredith on the inside there versus Pitt. A little bit of door bump between the two of them. I think right now it's going to be about the run from Addy and Cheverton behind, as we've also got the Andrew Romy trying to get into the mix after having the repair work done to the car. Under braking they go. Cheverton makes it 3 wide, and as they come on through, around the outside goes Romy. Contact there with Meredith. Alex Meredith is turned. I think Cheverton tapping him on the rear, and as they make them through, Alex Meredith's race is going from good to bad to disastrous in quick order. But it's not over yet, as we've got a 3 wide run here. In fact, 2 wide now between Manners and Addy as they make the way out towards turn number 6, and they charge down onto the brakes here. It's going to be Manners who tries to go in hard on the anchors, but he gets a bit wrong there, a bit too late, and collects the side of Adam Delmont's car. Delmont pushed wide there. Meanwhile, Addy comes on through, but a car nudged off the road. I believe that may have been, unless I'm very much mistaken, well, good it's been, and we'll have to pulls that forward. Ian Manners there turns sideways. I think a bit of further contact of Adam Delmont, so I think it's gone both ways between them. But as everybody tries to come down, William Chadwick down in P26 at the moment, trying to fight his way on through. But meanwhile, this is happening all down towards the bottom end of the field. Well, as we see Marco Benatelli trying to make his way on a 3 wide run versus way to Luke Jones, and Manners is able to pick off Jones, but not the other JW Motorsport car of Manners. They make the way out towards turn number 11, and contact there between Wes Jones and also Benatelli. The car absolutely erupting on the barrier, and well, for Marco Benatelli, the GRT Esports driver could not have had a worse time to come into contact there, and that car is going to be towed to the pits. But as meanwhile, we do look to the race leaders now, looking back up to the front of the field with 4 laps remaining, including the one they're on. Kieran Sharp continues to lead by 7 tenths over John Higgins Jr. with what is their Jamie Dory P3, and as they make the way onto the Parabolica curve straight, you can see the top 5 right now all pushing on, separated by 2 seconds from nose to tail, albeit Joseph Doble here falling a little bit out of sorts with Wayne Douglas. It seems like he's not quite in enough of the toe to be able to stay with the leaders, and we can see behind Andrea Talasco still leading the prime class in a very comfortable P6 overall at the moment for the GT racing team, but he does have Nick Clemens and Reece Watt trying to catch him and get his number as they make the way up towards turn number 8. But it looks like Gavin Gardner defending harder versus Clemens and focusing on those the team's championship points and making sure that as many overall points go to Next Gen Racing and Douglas Motorsport. But as they make the way and weave their way up towards turn number 10, well, we do look a bit further back to Mikey Doble, who's towards the back of your camera, now starting to make his way towards the foreground as we've got the long pack of Pro-Ams behind, as led by Linus Bergstrom. But Mikey Doble in a bit of a lonely P11 at the moment, and well, to put you in the frame of mind with regards to the championship battle, the one driver in particular is ahead of him at the moment they will be concerned about is Jamie Dory P3, albeit Dory's got a few more points to overhaul versus what is Andrew Pike. As they make the way on around right now, Linus Bergstrom having to fend off Michael Lees, and Lees trying to push on here, but as it currently stands, as Lees looks up the inside of Bergstrom there having to give the space to Lees. They make the way through. It's going to be side by side out of the final corner and on towards another lap they go. And who out of the 2 Elantra drivers are going to find their way ahead? Bergstrom's going to have the outside line. It is the stronger line into turn number 1, and Lees decides to back off as we ride on board and look back from the rear of Linus Bergstrom's car, getting a faceful there of the end grille of the Elantra of Lees. We've also got Josh Middleton still trying to get into the mix here as they make the way into the braking zone. Lees looks up the inside, hard on the anchors he goes, and as they do into the Einfeld Parabolica curve, making the way through the right-hander. Middleton there on the inside. Lees gets ahead of Bergstrom, and now it does look as though Middleton's going to try and do the same as he goes around the outside of turn number 4 onto 5, and then in towards the braking zone of turn number 6. You've got Martin Shirley just behind. They head onto the brakes here, heading in towards turn number 6 they go, but who's going to be the bolder of the 2 on the brakes out of Bergstrom versus Middleton? It's going to be Bergstrom, he's going to overdo it, go overly deep, and as a result now he's going to be side by side with Middleton on corner exit, but he will have the run onto the inside of Mercedes at turn number 8. Onto the brakes they go once again. Bit of a bounce over the curve there, still giving one other space. Great respectful racing between the two, but Millington will have the inside of 9, and that'll be what gets it done. As meanwhile, Andrew Pike trying to recover his way into this race. P16 at the moment on the back of this battle as they make the way up towards turn number 10. They make away past our cameraman, and Andrew Pike here. We jump on board with the number 99 car, still trying to keep his championship hopes alive by chasing down Mikey Doble. Looks like the inside there versus Martin Shirley. Linus Brusham's going to box him in, however, but Pike gets it done. Shirley on the outside there as they make the way through, but it's still side by side for a brief moment as they make the way through turn 12 into 13. But Shirley backs off, albeit for now. Martin Shirley said, "Oh goodness me!" It's a nasty shot on the inside from Martin Shirley versus Andrew Pike. I think Pike may have squeezed him slightly, albeit we've been on the on-board camera perspective. Attack between the two of them, but Pike is not happy with that. And right now, I can see a few tempers flaring as they make the way into the penultimate lap. And Pike weaving over the back to Shirley to say to him, "Give me the place back, you know it's mine." But as they make the way up towards turn number 2, well, right now, Martin Shirley, I think, is saying, "No, you're going to have to fight for it again." But as they make the way in towards the right hand, of course, we didn't see the full instance, so we can't make any judgments here in the commentary booth. But it definitely seems like a little bit of red tempers between them as they make the way up towards turn number 6 once again. As they charge the way on around, still plenty more to be played for here in regards to battles, including the battle for P2, the run-up spot in the Prime class, and also P8 overall between Nick Clemens of iRacing Esports and Reese Watt behind P9 as they make the way through Mercedes for the penultimate time in this race. And you can see Clemens right now the leading Audi of the pair, albeit tucked in behind the Audi of Garen Gardner and Andrea Talasco as they make the way up towards turn number 10. As they come into the right hander, it's an absolute pack of Audis, 5 Audis running together from P6 through to P10, where it's Daniel Holmer who completes the run of the group. And right now the Audi definitely showing its prowess here at the Hockenheimring on home territory effectively in Germany. But as they come in towards turns 14, 15 and 16, right now Clemens 9 has got to work a little bit more if he wants to hold on to that run-up spot, with Reese Watt right there with him all the way onto the final lap. Speaking of the final lap, white flag is out, ladies and gentlemen, and it's Kieran Sharp who leads going into turn 1 for the 12th and final time in race number 1. And as he comes on through there, John Higgins Jr. behind in a very comfortable formation for the Sim Racing Collective, with Jamie Dory P3 ahead of teammate Wayne Douglas and NXTGEN Racing with Douglas Motorsport. So right now it does look as though it's going to be a bit of a formation finish for the top 4 in terms of how the teams line up. This is how they essentially started on the grid. But as they make the way on around, meanwhile, we do look back to Martin Shirley versus Linus Brostrom heading into turn 1. This is the battle for P14. Overall, no class position battle here, given the fact it's the pro on the inside of the Brian. As Shirley tries to go all in on the move. Meanwhile, Andrew Pike tries to follow through. Can't quite do it, so he's got to give the space to Brostrom as he recovers the car on the outside of Frey. And as they make the way up through 4 into 5, well, right now Martin Shirley will find himself under pressure into the brains over the next corner, but Michael Lees does as well, as Millington trying to look for the move here. But right now Michael Lees doing everything right, just catches the car in time. Linus Brostrom still on the outside here, Martin Shirley. Pike looks on the inside now, and I think it's going to the Sim Racing Collective car who gets the initial exit up towards turn number 8, but finds himself on the outside into the Mercedes Arena corner. And as he comes through, cuts it back there. He's going to try and go all the way around the outside of turn number 9 now, with just behind. That is, I believe, Paolo Maniti and Andrea Roy battling for position. 2 teammates going toe-to-toe. But as they make the way up towards the start-finish line, meanwhile, we do look from these guys to your race leader, as here he comes through the final couple of corners, ladies and gentlemen. He's led this from start to finish, and he's going to be absolutely pleased to take his first win in his NXTCC career. It's Kieran Sharp who sees the checkered flag, and he takes it for the win in race number 1 of the day here at the Hockenheimring. Leading a 1-2 home for the Sim Racing Collective. John Higgins Jr. P2. He'll then be a NXTGEN race with Douglas Motorsport P3, P4 for Jamie Doran and Wayne Douglas. Joseph Doble P5. And then Andrea Talasco takes the prime win. P6 of VRGT Racing Team. And an absolutely solid performance ahead of Nick Clemens, who held off Reese Watt for the run-up spot in the prime class. And then Reese Watt completes the prime podium. Mikey Doble, meanwhile, a bit further back there, you can see P11 overall with Michael Lee's P12. And with that P12, and Isaac Doble's finish all the way down in P33. It does mean that Michael Lees now, ladies and gentlemen, is your provisional Pro-Am champion for Season 3 of the NXTCC, subject to post-race stewarding, but we suspect it will go his way, as we've got 2 more races to go and plenty more points with that. But I think Lees is already aware of the fact he's done it, as he starts to do some reversing donuts in the off-turf field. But as we see our drivers making the way on back towards the pit lane, still all of our drivers have made it all to the end of the race now. We have not got anybody still running out there on the lap that's yet to be completed. We've had 32 drivers finish this race on the lead lap, the last one being Mark Sykes, P32, and here is Mark Sykes in the wounded Audi RS3 for NXTGEN Racing Blue. And then Isaac Doble, our 33rd and final finisher of this race, finishing at 3 laps down, but staying in it to win it as always, as we do see him here. Well, the Doble Sim Racing driver will know now that he is really up against it in the battle versus Lee Horn. Also Alex Meredith and company for P2, the runner spot in the Pro-Am class. There's still 2 more races to go and no point giving up just yet. You never know what can happen. But as our drivers make their way into the pit lane, some other major performances from this one include Linus Brostrom's P15 overall and what was P5 in the Pro-Am class. They're battling hard for it for Bright Esports and holding on to it and to take an overall point as well. Always a major achievement in the Pro-Am class to take overall points. But as all our drivers make their way into the pit lane, definitely quite a sight to behold in race number 1. And let's take you through those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries. As the results appear on screen, Kieran Sharp was your winner in race number 1 for the Sim Racing Collective, leading home a 1-2 for TSRC ahead of John Higgins Jr., who finished 6.5 tenths behind. Jamie Dory rounded off the overall podium for Next Gen Racing with Douglas Motorsport in formation with teammate Wayne Douglas P4, a further 3 tenths behind him, and then it was a further second to Joe Zidol, who rounded off the top 5 of Doble Sim Racing in a great performance for the number 11 driver, holding off Andrea Talasco, who took the prime win at P6 for VRGT Racing Team. Gavin Garner finished P7 for Next Gen Racing with Douglas Motorsport ahead of iRacing Esports' Nick Clibbins, and Reese Watt just being held at bay there, but it does mean the Pro-Am podium was made up of Andrea Talasco, Nick Clibbins and Reese Watt. Congratulations to all 3 of them. Great driving from them all, especially for Talasco, to absolutely bring home that run to a P6 finish overall and keep clear of his contemporaries. And then Daniel Homer completing the top 10 overall for Bright Esports. Best of the rest, Mikey Doble P11 there in what was a little bit of a moment of hesitancy in the resumption of the race after what seemed to be an incident knocked him outside of the top 10. It does mean he loses some points to Jamie Dory, but still, he's still the championship leader going into race number 2. And then Michael Lees P12 ahead of Josh Millington, but Michael Lees taking the Pro-Am Championship provisional, given the fact that he was able to take home more points than Isaac Doble was able to, with a P4 in class versus Isaac Doble's P18 in class. So congratulations to him. Millington P13 ahead of Martin Shirley, with Linus Brostrom completing your top 15 and the last of our overall points finishers. And then Andrew Pike P16 just missing out behind the Bright Esports driver, but ahead of the GRT Esport driver Andrea Romy, who held off Sam Smith to the line. B19 that went to Palamaniti, where Adam Delmont completed the top 20. Then Matthew Sheraton just outside the top 20, but battling hard versus Lee Horn and finding his man and finding his position with it for Aztec Racing. The Next Gen Racing yellow driver of Horn just staying ahead of Paul Scott. And then William Chadwick P24 in a race that did not go his way whatsoever. And it does mean now he's going to have to dig very deep in races 2 and 3 if he wants to try and find his way on to the top 3 of the overall championship. Matthew Addy P25 ahead of Jake Pitt, with James Mansell and Alex Meredith completing your top 28. And as we continue our wound down, Luke Jones and Jonathan Collins completed the top 30 ahead of JW Motorsports Ian Manners, with Mark Sykes being the last finisher on the lead lap, P32 for Next Gen Racing Blue. 3 laps down, Isaac Doble P33, but will be classified as a finisher of the race as he completed half the race distance. And then 2 retirees are Marco Benatelli and Daniel Fritz, and they'll both be classified as finishers, given the fact they were able to complete over half the race distance, only missing 5 laps come at the very end for GRT Esport and Whiskey Runners Racing with Next Gen Racing Blue respectively. But that was race number 1, ladies and gentlemen. We've still got 2 more races to go here in the season finale in Germany, and we'll be back in approximately 5 to 7 minutes time for the build up to race number 2. And given how intense and dramatic race 1 was, I suspect things are only going to get ever more intense, and we'll see you shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back then for the build-up to race number 2 of 3 here today in round 10 of the NXTGEN Season 3. And, well, what a race one we've had. We saw cars making their way towards the stratosphere. We saw plenty of battles up and down the field. And we also saw, for one of a limited time this season, a 1-2 for a team, with the Sim Racing Collective making it a 1-2 as led by the capable drivers of what was Andrew Pike, well, not Andrew Pike, my apologies, Kieran Sharp and John Higgins Jr. But as we still got 2 more races to go, we also got to see, as part of our first race of the day, the securing of the Pro-Am title by none other than Michael Lees. And as he makes his way into his pit box at the moment, he's getting ready to take the car out of the circuit. We looked at Andrea Talasco, who took the win in the Pro-Am class in race number 1, and have to ask the question, can he potentially make it another win back-to-back and therefore carry on this absolutely sensational pace that he seems to have behind the wheel of the VRGT Racing Team Audi. We're only 2.5 minutes away from going racing once again, and we are going to see if we can grab a quick word with one of our drivers. We'll see if we can get an opportunity, although I don't think we're going to get an opportunity with Michael Lees at the moment, as I believe he is knee-deep in tactical talk with his teammates down in the NXTGEN Racing Yellow Garage. But we can definitely tell you that things are heated up right now, and well, anything can happen over the remainder of the racing. With race number 1 being an absolute spectacle to behold. It was unfortunate for some drivers that looked to be capitalising on the chaos and carnage, such as Daniel Fritz with the Whiskey Runners Racing with NXTGEN Racing Blue driver, able to steer clear of the initial danger, then ended up in an incident that set him all the way back. But as all our drivers get ready to go racing this second time, we'll place your bets, ladies and gentlemen, as to how things will play out, and to give you an update on the Pro Championship situation as we look to the Pro driver of Double Sim Race. So what we should really say is the overall championship situation, albeit it's being contested by pros at the very top end of the proverbial championship stick. It is currently the case whereby we still have Mikey Doble leading by an advantage of 33 points over Jamie Dory, with Andrew Pike close behind, and it's very close between them at the moment, but we'll have to wait and see how it plays out in the next race. But Mikey Doble not able to necessarily seal the championship come the end of this race, unless Dory and also Pike have a nightmare of a race. But Doble in control of this at the moment, and well, if he can maintain that control, then race number 3 may be a bit more of a formality like it was for Michael Lees only moments ago. As we look to re-swat heading on around here, the JW Motorsport driver getting himself set and getting himself comfortable after a podium finish in our first race of the day. A great result there, and right now the number 32 driver will be hoping for more of the same in what is the second race, and his target will be simple: just keep it calm and collected. We do get an opportunity to grab a very quick word with Michael Lees as he joins me quickly in the interview room. Michael, just a quick word with yourself. Championship in hand now after race number 1. What's races 2 and 3 all about?
Well, you know, first of all, I did it. I couldn't believe it. I can't believe it still, to be honest. I'm over the moon. I've not won out in ages, so yeah, fantastic. Race 2 and 3. I mean, I've got to play the team game now, haven't I? You know, if I've got nothing left on the line, I've got to start rooting for my boy Lee home. And even Matthew Addy, if he can pull something together, I'm not sure what's possible for him. But Lee's right in the mix for third, maybe even second. So if we can get 2 NXTGEN yellow drivers up on the podium, the final podium, then I think that's what we're aiming for.
Well, Michael, we wish you the best for that. We'll let you go as we go to the grid.
Cheers, Paul.
Hearing there quickly from Michael Lees, but as all of our drivers make their way onto the grid, this is how they line up for our second race of the day. It's Kieran Sharp who starts on pole position for the Sim Racing Collective, joined by teammate John Higgins Jr. On the second row, Jamie Doria and Wayne Douglas, followed up by Joe Zadoa and Andrea Talasco. Now on row number 4, it's Gavin Garner and Nick Clemens, followed up by Reese Watt and Daniel Harmer, completing your top 10. And then we have on row number 6, Mikey Doble and Michael Lees, who we just heard from only moments ago, the provisional Pro-Am champion. And behind them, it will be on the 7th row of the grid, Josh Millington and Martin Shirley. On row number 8, Linus Broderstrom and Andrew Pike, followed up by Andrea Romy and Sam Smith. And then Adam Delman and Paolo Maniti are on the 10th row of the grid, albeit the opposite way round. Maniti starting P19, Delman P20. P21, Matthew Sheraton starts off our 11th row of the grid, joined by Lee Horn, with Paul Scott and William Chadwick on row number 12. And as we continue our way further down the order, we can see on row number 13, it's Matthew Addy and Jake Pitt, with James Bezos-Gow and Alex Meredith. But the grid is set, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for us to go racing, and here are the lights. 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for our second race of the day as Kieran Sharp looks to get a good start off the line and charge in towards turn number 1. Will it be a repeat of last time or will it be different this time? It looks like Jamie Dory's really trying to put the pressure on early here versus John Higgins Jr. But as he goes the long way round, he can't quite find it initially. But it's going to be a drag race now out towards turn number 2, and the Veloster does have the edge in this regard. But Dory has got the success. Bass has been an instant further back, and as they make the way down, it's carnage in the midfield here as it looks as though Nick Clements has been turned around. We've also got one of the Honda Suit Type R's parking the wrong way. That is Martin Shirley or Lee Horn, one of the two. We're also saying that Matthew Addy has been caught up in the carnage, and William Chadwick's car is smoking, and not in a good way as they make the way up through turns 3 and 4. It's all gone very, very wrong for Chadwick as the car points the wrong way there, and everyone now tries to pick up the pieces. But meanwhile, whilst all this has been playing out, Joseph Doble has found his way into P2 in the run into turns 6 and 7, and the Doble Sim Racing driver attacking with no restraint here as he makes his way on through turn number 8 into 9. But I do believe that we are going to have a safety car immediately, ladies and gentlemen, for that incident. I've heard it in my ear, and we will be under safety car conditions come the exit of turn number 1 on lap number 2. But meanwhile, our drivers can race for the time being as Paul Scott here trying to carve his way up the inside of what is now James Spencer's gal as they make the way in towards turn number 10. Now through the right hander they go, and as they do, well, Scott's going to do the inside front, and Spencer's gal going overly deep there, and in fact having to lift off completely off the throttle. He's going to be letting Addy and also Fritz through as they make the way in, but Fritz is going to be under attack from Spencer's gal as he goes a bit deep into turn 11, so it's not going to be picture perfect for Daniel Fritz. They make the way out towards 12, 13 and 14, but through the left into right they go, and as they do, the safety car is now in effect for those who've crossed the start finish line, and will Kieran Sharp leads come the end of lap number 1, albeit it will be a major pause in the racing after only one lap as all our drivers now settle down to position, and Matthew Shepard's side by side there with Martin Shirley. He's got his nose ahead, but I think he may give the position back. I think he may have gained it across the start finish line, and out of respect to the rule book he will yield, so Matthew Shepard drops back to P17 overall. But that was at lap number 1 of 12 in race number 2, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll now with the safety car in effect, it gives us some time to analyse what exactly has happened on the opening lap. Well, as our drivers all calm down here, we start by taking a look back at what happened to Matthew Addy on lap number 1, and this may explain part of the story. So the incident already occurred in front of Matthew Addy, so the focus of the centre of our camera. He avoided all the carnage as he comes down, more on the brakes here, having to watch out for Chadwick, and in the end gets caught out by Chadwick into turn number 2. But Chadwick definitely battered and bruised as a result of all the contact in front of him. We try to take a look back at that again, and well, as we do, Jake Pitt going down there, but we can't quite see the start of the incident. I think we might need to see it a little bit earlier in our replay footage. And Jake Pitt was collected there by the Wayward 29, well in fact not the 29 car, but the Wayward JW Motorsport car of what I believe was Ian Manners. But I think as we look a bit further back in time here, we may have a better view of the incident as they all make their way up towards turn number 2. And well, there you can see the number 30 car, Nick Clements, being collected in contact with Andrew Pike, and I think that may explain the story as we do take a look back from Andrew Pike's perspective on board what exactly happened. So making his way into turn number 1, battling 3 wide here for a brief moment. And as he exits the corner, Clements front gets a poor run off the corner, and as they made their way down towards turn number 2, Clements comes across, Pike is sandwiched, he's got a car on his inside of the wall which gets collected, and at this point both drivers are just literally passengers of their car. Chadwick tries to go around the outside of it, clips the rear end of Clements' car, and well, that explains why Chadwick was up in smoke before he made turn 2. But as we then take a look back at the incident from an alternative perspective, this was from Clements' perspective as he made his way on in. You can see here, balanced position, but very compromised into turn 1, boxed in there by Wayne Douglas with Mikey Doble around the outside. That's brave from Mikey Doble to say the least. And Clements getting on the pad, bringing the car to the right, and there he finds the car of Andrew Pike. And in the end, well, much like for Pike, just a passenger in his car and just hoping the car will stop and not take any other cars, but everyone coming into the incident. And well, as we look to the exterior cameras, we do take a look now from further down the order as to what happened, including from Alex Meredith from an exterior camera. Meredith starting all the way from the back of the field. And as they made the way, and Jonathan Collins and Meredith battling hard for position into the right hand they go, and as they made their way up towards turn 1, you see the instant starts to unfold. These drivers further back don't know what's happening until they start to see the smoke kicking off, and then it's all about just trying to find the right place to be safe at the right time. And you see there Lee Horns, and Meredith dodges one, he can't dodge Clements, however, then goes 5 wide for a brief moment, and it all ends in tears for Meredith just as much as it does for the likes of what was Luke Jones and company, and Jones, the JW Motorsport driver, they're losing his front bumper as a result. But that was the incident on what was lap number 1. And we did have a brilliant bit of battling on what was lap number 1 as well, where Joseph Doble moved up into P2. We'll try and get you a replay of that. We have also just been informed, ladies and gentlemen, that the safety car will be in at the end of this lap, come the end of lap 3, going on to lap 4. So we're not losing too many laps under safety car conditions, but we will see exactly how our drivers all fit back together when we go racing once more. But we are going to try and get a replay of that overtake that Joseph Doble made for P2. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen, an absolutely brilliant bit of manoeuvring. So you see in front, John Higgins Jr. and Jamie Dory battling for position into turn number 2. And Joseph Doble says, well, if you two are going to knock each other out of the way, I'll take the place off you. Albeit it was not done immediately there, with Higgins Jr. still battling side by side with him, but then find himself on the outside of 5, going in towards the inside of 6. This was really straightforward in terms of where he could position the car into the double right hairpin. As he came through, Higgins Jr. went as late as possible, to be fair, trying to outbrake Joseph Doble, and then on the ideal line for overtaking, Joseph Doble got it done. But as we return to your live pictures now, ladies and gentlemen, still safety car in effect, but Kieran Sharp is backing everybody up as they make their way towards the final corners. And as he does, he went on the apex of the final corner last time. Will he go there again, or will he go a little bit later to try and confuse everyone? Well, he goes on the final corner, he does the same thing twice, and we're green flag racing once again with another 9 laps remaining as Kieran Sharp charges across the timeline onto lap number 4. And as they come down, we've got battling further afield already as Sam Smith here looking for the opportunity to pass on the inside Paolo Maniti. They can't overtake it until they cross the start-finish line. And as they make their way through turn 1, Smith looks to the move. We've got a car with a bit of dust going up there. I believe that may be Wayne Douglas, who's had a bit of an instant. But as everyone makes their way down to the braking zone for turn number 2, I think we may have a little bit of shake-up on our timing tower, as we've got what is Andrea Talasco right now, battling side by side with Reespot Garagano. In fact, it's Reespot Garagano who are trying to fight hard for P6, and what in particular trying to go for the move for the lead of the Pro class. It looks like the inside Talasco. Reespot goes very late. Talasco turns in and finds Reespot's there. What's sent sideways, and that car of Reespot is going to be absolutely wayward. And Mikey Doble collected there, Wayne Douglas as well, but Mikey Doble in particular, and that is a huge blow in the overall championship right now. Now will Doble have to come into the pits and get repair work? He'll be hoping he doesn't have to. It does seem as though we're able to carry on racing, but it's drama there, and this pushes all 3 drivers down. So it's P17 for Mikey Doble, P19 for Reese Watt, and in return for some of the pins up the road, Wayne Douglas down to P8 as a result of that contact. But as the racing continues, it's now Matthew Addy who tries to look for the mover of Palamaniti. As they come through turn number 10 up towards 11, they go onto the brakes. There's even more carnages. We've got a car on the road. That's Ian Manners who's just gone sideways, albeit off camera. We've lost Ian Manners for a brief moment there. He instantly recovers. I think the bit of contact Adam Delman, unless I'm very much mistaken. But as I try to make the way on around here, meanwhile at the front of the field, there's even more battling drama, albeit the right kind of drama, you could say, because we never want to see drivers in a major racing instant. What we love to see is close and firm battling, and right now Kieran Sharp and Jamie Dory nose to tail. And for Jamie Dory, if he hasn't been told this already, if he takes the win in this race, that is going to enable him to close the deficit to Mikey Doble massively, and it will mean the championship is wide open going into the final race of the season. But as they make the way through turns 2 through to 4, coming through the left-hander 4 right now, you can see Dory finds himself in the middle of the Sim Racing Collective sandwich. We're not quite sure where Joseph Doble's gone in all of this. He was battling at one point, but has fallen further down the order. We'll have to try and understand what exactly has happened to Joseph Doble. But as they make the way up towards turn number 6, meanwhile, it's Elias Brewster versus Andrea Talasco after everything that's happened. And Brewster finds his way through right now to take the lead of the Prime class on the inside of Talasco. You couldn't make this up, ladies and gentlemen. One moment it's Reese Watt looking for the move, getting Sim Roll versus Talasco, now leading us Brewster, just avoiding all the carnage and chaos, finds himself into the lead of the Prime class, albeit just over half the race remaining, and we've still got plenty of time to go. As they make the way up towards turn number 10. Meanwhile, further back in the order, Nick Clements right now battling with James Mansfield for Prime P9, P20 overall as he chases after the Aztec Racing Machine. They make their way past the station in Caravan. You can see Lee Horn there battling with Alex Meredith. And Alex Meredith there trying to get one hand over what is his main rival in that battle for P2, P3 in the Prime Championship. And as they make the way through turn number 11, well, it's going to be Clements defending on the inside here versus Mascas Gal. As they come through 12 into 13, and Clemens will get it done. He'll hold up to P20, and the iRacing Esports driver now will be targeted to move from P9 in prime to P8 versus Daniel Fritz, but Fritz is 2 places up the road as they make the way onto lap number 6. As they charge away on through, and meanwhile Matthew Addy under pressure from Isaac Doble, and right now Isaac trying to do everything he can to recover after what was an absolutely dismal race number 1. Looking for the move here versus the number 1 Veloster, and as they head up towards the break-ins over turn number 2, which is going to be Isaac Doble on the inside. He's not going to take any prisoners under braking here. Addy in return knows that he can give as good as he takes, and as they make their way through 2, side by side of quarter exits, clean racing, and there's a bit of netco contact between the two of them at first. It prevails into major contact, and Isaac Doble catches the car just in time before it hits the barrier. But I think when he looks back at that one, he'll be frustrated at the fact there was internet connectivity at first that seemed to do the damage rather than contact between the two. It was great racing for the most part, but meanwhile Luke Jones on the inside. Jones now getting his elbows out and saying, well no, you can stay on the outside, thank you very much. I think Isaac Doble now feeling a bit frustrated at the fact he's just been elbowed out of the way, and as they make the way towards turn at number 8 once again today, Alex Meredith now trying to go around the outside of Isaac Doble, and well, you can see the Double Sim Racing 65 machine definitely being bruised and battered but not broken, as Mark Sykes also tries to get in on the action here and looks like the inside into turn number 10. As they make the way on towards the right-hander and in towards the braking zone they go. Who is going to come out on top here? We wait for our cameraman to turn it around. It's Sykes who gets ahead for the brief moment, but Isaac is trying to come back here as they make the runs on the brakes. Paul Scott also behind Joseph Doble also there in the mix with Joseph Doble, Isaac's brother, older brother, looking up the inside, gives a bit of an elbow there to Paul Scott, gets on through. He wants to try and help out as Mark Sykes is off the road, and as he tries to rejoin, he calms it down the grass, but looking from him all the way up further afield, we do look to Martin Shirley here in P11 as he chases after Sam Smith. Sam Smith being one of our biggest gainers in this race so far, 8 places gained overall, and as they make their way up towards turn number 2 once again, Martin Shirley making some progress as well, albeit with Adam Delmont behind. He'll be wary of the fact that Delmont has got him in his sights as they head up towards turn number 5. But charging away on through, everybody still trying to push for positions as much as possible here. You think it was the start of the season, let alone the end of the season, with the amount they're battling one another. As we say hello to Melvin Erkison, who says, let's go Bright Esport. In terms of where the Bright Esports machines are at the moment, well, we do have Linus Broström still battling with Andrea Talasco, albeit Talasco has got back ahead of Linus Broström over the last couple of laps, and the Bright Esports driver now under pressure from Wayne Douglas, who tries to keep him honest as they make the way through turn number 9. But then there's Matthew Cheverton not too far behind, and Cheverton currently P3 in the prime class, P9 overall, and the 390 driver here looking to make it another podium as a minimum before the season is said and done, as they all make the way in towards the stadium section. But he's got the pressure of Sam Smith, Martin Shirley and Adam Delmont behind. But meanwhile, Wayne Douglas on the inside there, Linus Broström into turn number 11, and that may be it for Broström's charge after Talasco for the time being, unless he can use Wayne Douglas as a battering ram, albeit a proverbial one, to bring him closer to Andrea Talasco, and then have the opportunity to get involved as soon as possible. But that's the way you've got to play it sometimes. You have to let the driver just overtake you, bring you up towards the next rival, and then try to gain 2 places through a move that they make. But charging onwards towards turn number 1. Meanwhile, you can see Sam Smith still trying to find his way, poking and probing around Cheverton's rear, but he can't find a way past it as they make the way up through turn number 1. Goes a bit wide there, gets the cutback run off of the exit curve. Got to be careful of those track limits, however. Go too wide and you can gain significant race time. The stewards are looking at that, of course, as he makes his way into turn number 2. With Cheverton here defending as hard as possible. He understands he wants overall points just as much as podium points. And as they come through turn number 4, right now for Cheverton, he'd ideally like to get close to Broström, because the second place in the prime class will effectively put him right up there in the battle for P2 in the prime championship. As they head down to the braking zone, he's got to keep trying to fend off Smith. Smith looks around the outside here on the brakes, and as they go, Smith gets ahead on a nose through turn 6, through turn 7 they go. I think Smith may have this. He could hold the inside into turn number 8. Cheverton may not have a response, but when Cheverton brakes really early, but Smith sees it coming, turns the cutback and says, no you don't, I'm just going to park the car there. Martin Shirley now, and the defenders, Adam Delmont looks around the outside at turn number 9, and as they make their way in towards turn number 10, side by side between the 2 Honda drivers, as they roar their way up towards the right-hander at 10. But as they come through the right-hander now, it looks like Delmont's going to have to back out, given the fact he's on the outside line. Shirley gave him the space, but you can see that wide line, and the fact he's had to lift off, but then Delmont goes all in. Shirley tries to turn, but he sees that Delmont coming in like a fist of fury, and therefore the battle is back on once more as they make their way through 12, 13, 14, in towards 15. And meanwhile, Cheverton and Smith still fight side by side through turns 15 and 16, and as they come through, Cheverton still holding on, but right now the gap between him and Linus Broström up to 2.3 seconds, and it is growing by the corner as they make the way onto lap number 9. But as they come on down, it's going to be Smith looking around the outside now. Still, we stay with this battle for the time being, and Smith this time getting a much better run off of turn 1, forcing Shepperton to take a compromise inside line, and this could be what Smith needs. All we need to know is a launch out of 2, and the move could be on for turn number 6, given the Elantra's propensity for straight line speed, albeit Smith is running approximately 10 kilograms of success ballast in that Elantra, and he'll feel it towards the top end of the straight. As they exit the way out, Smith has got ahead, and I think Shepperton may have to let this go unless he can try and force something under braking here to turn number 6. But given the fact the prime points are pivotal here for Shepperton's championship, I think he will let this go and be smart about it, and he does so. Smith turns in after a compromised line. There's contact between the two of them, and now Delmon's going to get involved here as they make their way into Mercedes' corner. As they come through the left-hander, he looks over there. Delmon's going to be made to go wide, and therefore it's now going to be Shirley tries to get involved. Meanwhile, further down behind them, we do have a Reese Watt trying to get involved versus not Andrea Romy, we should say, it's Paolo Maniti as they make their way up towards turn number 10, and we ride on board here with the JW Motorsport 32 car. Now a little bit of a wobble there on turning by Paolo Maniti. It does look as though the Elantra there for GRT Sport no, comes on place as Watt goes as late as possible to the inside of turn number 11. A bit of contact between the two of them on the exit, but great racing and respectful with it. And Reese Watt right now, despite the damage to the front bumper of that Audi, is not showing any signs of backing off as Millington comes on through as well. And Paolo Maniti being caught out there as they make their way through 15 and 16. Albeit there was some contact between them, but I think they'll survive it. As meanwhile Daniel Holmer follows on through here, the other Bright Esports machine, P16, and trying to close after what is a point in the overall class, given the fact that it's P15 upwards to achieve overall points. As they come out of turn 1 and down towards turn number 2, Reese Watt still side by side here with Josh Millington. Millington looking up the inside now under braking. I think he may get this done as they cut through the right-hander, or as they do, Watt will try and come back, and this is where the Audi is so strong in terms of acceleration on the straight. But if it's allowed to get to 5th and 6th gear, the car just storms away. Well, he's got all the speed here. He's very close to the back of Millington. Millington puts the car on the centre of the road, slightly towards the inside for braking into turn 6. Meanwhile, behind there, you can see Daniel Holm on the inside of Paolo Maniti. Goes all in under braking. I think Holm will get the move done for overall P15. That will provisionally be a point if he's able to bring the car in the position as Maniti tries to look back to the inside. But Holm covers it off as they come through turn number 8. As they exit the aforementioned corner and make the way towards the rest of the lap. Meanwhile, we look to your race leader, Kieran Sharp, as a bit of sunshine comes out over the stadium section, and the Sim Racing Collective driver 7/10 clear of Jamie Dory as they make the way through 30 and 14, and coming on through, flash the lights constantly there for Higgins Jr. trying to get into Dory's head, trying to distract him as they make the way through turns 15 and 16, but right now Dory showing no signs of distraction, only focus here in the fact that if Dory's able to pull off this P2, it'll give him major ground versus Mikey Doble, albeit Doble will still be leading in the overall championship, but at the same time it will mean that the scores are almost leveled by a 10-point gap from Doble to Dory, and as they make their way up towards turn number 2, well, Mikey Doble down in P28 at the moment, it will mean that if he's not able to make further places, he'll be looking to start the race from towards the back of the field, and he'll have to battle his way on through. But then again, if we have a major incident on the opening laps, which sees multiple drivers taken out of the race or to the pit lane, it could work to Doble's advantage, but that is a risk that he's going to have to play in terms of probability. And meanwhile, as we continue to look at this battle, Higgins Jr. looks up the inside, goes very late. Dory tries to squeeze into the apex, and as they come on through, all Dory does as much as he can to prevent Higgins Jr. from going for it. But my goodness, it's going to be number 5 car that goes all in. He wants to make it number 1 too, but Dory comes back here. Dory 9 at every point right now. It's pivotal not just to his championship, but also to taking the win in the team championship for Next Gen Race with Douglas Motorsport. And as they exit side by side from turn number 9 up towards 10 they go. Both cars are absolutely roaring up through their gearboxes. Gavin Garner's coming in behind. He may be able to support Dory, but right now Higgins Jr. really having to try and do all the work, as meanwhile Kieran Sharp breaking away at the front of the field. On the outside it's turn number 11, they come for a left-hander, a bit of a door up between the two of them. Higgins Jr. is not done yet, neither is Dory. Both drivers here taking shades out one another. It's like two boxers trading punches, albeit right now Higgins Jr. may be landing the finishing blow here as they come through 15 to 16. He's got ahead, but Dory will try and come back at the corner exit as they make the way now. We look back for the rear, Higgins Jr.'s rear bumper as they make the way towards turn number 1. Onto the final lap of this race they go. It's going to be Dory close behind here, but the gap is up to 2.5 tenths. It's not much, but every tenth is critical. As Higgins Jr. taking plenty of apex curve, Dory almost just gliding over it, and Gavin Garner staying the same as they head up towards turn number 2. But right now Higgins Jr. doing everything right as they make the way onto the brakes for the Ironfart Parabolica hairpin. but coming out to the right-hander and on the charge to go towards turns 6 and 7. Right now, Higgins Jr. I think may have this sealed and done, but further back down the order, we've still got plenty of battling for what is the top 5 of the prime class. Palamaniti holds on to the position, but here you can see Nick Clemens trying to go out there on the outside of the 5th place driver as they make the way into turn 2. But he goes a bit deep there, does Clemens, and Lee Horn now tries to get into the mix as well, saying, well, don't mind if I do, but Clemens says, no, I do mind if you do. And as they come down towards turn number 6, right now it's going to be Maniti who's able to pull away. Horn versus Clemens meanwhile, well, it's going to be Horn who has the braking potential in the Honda, but Clemens has the inside line. Horn decides to try and go around the outside. That's not going to work too well as he clips the apex curve there, trying to cut it back, and the car's put onto 2 wheels. But meanwhile, Clemens has another shot on Maniti. I think his tyres are gone on Maniti's Hyundai Elantra as he's just not able to extract the cornering speed that he previously has been able to. But as they make their way through 9 and up towards 10, well, there's only a few quarters to go for them. But meanwhile, looking towards the front of the field, this is Kieran Sharp for the Sim Racing Collective. And well, he picked up his first win of the season in race number 1 of the day. And as he comes through the final corner, he's going to make it 2 wins back-to-back here as Kieran Sharp sees the checkered flag. And it's another win for the Sim Racing Collective driver. And with it, another 1-2 for the team as Higgins Jr. finishes P2, Jamie Dory P3, and Gavin Goddard P4, Andrea Romy P5, and Andrea Talasco comes home to make it 2 wins out of 2 in the prime class of VRGT Racing Team. And a Wayne Douglas with Linus Grostrom holding on to the run-up spot in the prime class. Sam Smith and Adam Delman complete the top 10, and Matthew Sheraton returns to the podium in the prime class with a P11 overall, with a great drive ahead of Martin Shirley and Josh Millington. Reese Watt P14 ahead of Daniel Holmer, and drivers yet to finish the race include Isaac Doble, who comes across line P22 just ahead of brother Joseph as Bowden the drag race to the line, Alex Meredith behind them, and then Paul Scott P25 as he comes on in with a damaged Audi there. Damage he's picked up on the final lap by the looks of things. We'll very shortly have Mikey Doble coming through, P26, the overall championship leader, so therefore this will mean Mikey Doble will not be within the range of what is the reverse grid draw, so he'll be starting P26 guaranteed, which is definitely right now going to make hair stand on edge for him and the team. Andrew Pike P27 ahead of Ian Manners and Luke Jones, as we do see Jones making his way out to the opening corner there, and indeed completes his race P29 ahead of Michael Lees, and then Mark Sykes coming on through very shortly in a heavily wounded NXTGEN Racing Blue Audi RS3 to complete what will be his race P31 as he just gradually tries to limp the car across the line, and he does so by the looks of things thereabouts as he is confirmed to finish at P31. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, what a race too. It has been battles aplenty, but the Sim Racing Collective have made it a 1-2 once again, with Kieran Sharp ahead of John Higgins Jr. and Jamie Dory P3. He'll be a little bit disappointed he wasn't able to make it a P2, as it does mean he wasn't able to gain as much ground as he would have liked on Mikey Doble, but now all bets are off and into the final race of the season, with Jamie Dory guaranteed to be inside the reverse grid order. But meanwhile, Mikey Doble will be starting P26. Meanwhile, for Andrea Talasco, another prime win, giving him major points as he tries to finish inside the top 5 of the prime championship come the very end, with Linus Brostrom also pulling off an absolutely brilliant run to P8 overall, P2 in class, and Matthew Cheverton with that P3 reignites his hopes to finish inside the top 3 in the championship when all is said and done. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes race number 2 of today, and let's take a look at those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. Well, after 12 laps of racing, albeit a couple of them behind the safety car, the Sim Racing Collective made it a 1-2, with Kieran Sharp leading ahead of John Higgins Jr. and Jamie Dory round off the overall podium P3 for NXTGEN Racing with Douglas Motorsport. In a mirror image to race number 1, Gavin Garner there, making it a NXTGEN Racing with Douglas Motorsport P3, P4, ahead of Andrea Romy for GRT Esport, then Andrea Talasco round off the top 6, but more importantly for him, making it back-to-back prime wins for VRGT Racing Team. 4 attempts then to Wayne Douglas ahead of Linus Brostrom, with a bright esports driver battling hard all the way through. A 1-point lead, but missing out on the win in the end, but still he'll be pleased with a P2 in class. And then Sam Smith and Adam Delman completing the top 10 for iRacing Esports and NXTGEN Racing with Douglas Motorsport respectively. Matthew Sheraton best the rest of Aztec Racing P11 and 3rd place on the prime podium. The prime podium of Talasco, Brostrom and what was it, Cheverton, with Martin Shirley P12 just behind, and Josh Millington, Reese Watt and Daniel Homer completed your top 15. And carrying on through to the rest of the top 20, Palamaniti battling hard for P16 ahead of iRacing Esports' Nick Clemens, and the GRT Esport drive gaining the upper hand in the end, only by 2 tenths of the finish line, I should say, with then Lee Horn P18 for NXTGEN Racing Yellow, leading ahead of Matthew Addy, his teammate. Daniel Fritz P20 for Whiskey Runners Racing with NXTGEN Blue, with James Mazes-Gal outside the top 20 there. P21 for Aztec Racing, and then Isaac Doble and Joseph Doble, the Doble Sim Racing brothers, round off the finishing positions inside the eligible range of the top 23. Alex Meredith, P24, ahead of Paul Scott, with Mikey Doble, P26, and what could prove to be the decisive race of the season if things don't go his way in race number 3. Then Andrew Pike and Ian Manners, P27, P28, ahead of what's the rest of the field. Luke Jones, P29, Michael Leach, P30, and a difficult race for Next Gen Racing, yellow driver, but he's already technically sealed the Pro-Am Championship, so therefore, for him, it's more about trying to play points for the team. Mark Sykes, P31, and the last finisher on the lead lap of the race. And then we also had Jake Pitt, P32, who finished 6 laps down, and therefore will be classified as a finisher, having completed half the race for Aztec Racing, and then retiring before the halfway point, and therefore non-finishers, William Chadwick for Altus Esports, and Jonathan Collins for Next Gen Racing Blue. But that was race number 2, ladies and gentlemen, and we've still got one more race to go here at the Hockenheimring in Baden-Württemberg, and it is race number 3. But before we take our brief breather to get ready for race number 3, you know what time it is? It is time for the reverse grid draw. And as we make our way to the commentary booth for the final time this season, good evening to you. It's great to see you as always. I'm glad to see so many of you enjoying the racing action today. And we'll take you through the procedure of old. We've got the Next Gen Racing Lottery Bowl here with the numbers 6 through to 12 in it. I'll be shuffling the balls very shortly, drawing 2 of them out of the bowl. We'll add the numbers together and we'll end up with the grand total reverse grid position for the final race of the season. So here we go. So our first draw will be... It will be the number 8. We have got the number 8, so it's going to be at least a reasonable size reverse grid. And as we shuffle the balls once again, and we draw another one, is going to be the number 6. So in an interesting turn of events, it's a top 14 inverted grid, whereby we will have the top hit at 14 inverted, and therefore Reswap will be on pole for the final race of the season. And as I am being encouraged by the stewards here to give the balls a header, we are going to do it. And there we go. Well, I missed that one, and well, we missed that one as well. But ladies and gentlemen, that's our last reverse grid draw. And without further ado, we're 7 to 8 minutes away from race number 3. We'll be back shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for our final race of the season. Would you believe it? We have had 29 races thus far, and it is time for race 30 of 30 in round 10 of 10 in the NXTGEN Season 3. And we are here circuit side of the Hockenheimring, Baden-Württemberg National A-Loud for what is expected to be an absolute thriller of a season finale race. The reason we can say that is that whilst the Pro-Am Championship was wrapped up in race 1, it has gone the way of Michael Lease, and congratulations to him. We've still got the Teams Championship to be decided, with the battle being on between NXTGEN Race with Douglas Motorsport and the Sim Racing Collective. And meanwhile, in the overall Drivers' Championship, well, we have had a huge, and I mean a resoundingly huge, shake-up in the order going into this final race of the season. Now, to give you a little bit of perspective as our drivers just do their warm-up laps in preparation for going to the grid, we've had an update with regards to the provisional standings, and we can inform you that currently, as it stands, Mikey Doble is leading the overall championship on 280 points. He has only a 15-point advantage over Jamie Dory, with Andrew Pike now on what is effectively 244 points, and therefore out of the equation. So therefore it's a showdown between Mikey Doble and Jamie Dory, the Season 1 champion of Dory versus the Season 2 champion and defending champion of Doble. But this is where things get complicated, in the fact that we only had a top 14 inversion for the purposes of our reverse grid, a low number, one of the lowest numbers we could have seen, and with it that means that Dory is starting towards the relative front of the field, starting from P12. For Mikey Doble, however, with a P26 finish in our second race of the day, he remains P26 on the grid for our third and final race. So therefore he's got to make his way through multiple positions. Now, how will it work out in terms of points, I hear you ask? Well, Dory needs to not just get 15 points in the final race of the day, he needs to get 16. Because if the two drivers are tied on points, it will mean that things will go the way of Doble, as he has more wins over the season compared to Dory. 16 points are available for what is effectively P4. So it means that Jamie Dory as a minimum must finish P4 if Mikey Doble is not able to get any points in this final race of the season. However, he picks up a single point for finishing P15 overall, it's done, and it will be in the way of Mikey Doble in terms of how it goes. Meanwhile, if Mikey Doble is able to make his way into what is the top 15 and start to get overall points, all he needs to do is secure himself 10 points, and that will be all said and done. And 10 points are available for P10, well, in fact not P10, my apologies, P8, and we'll have to wait to see what happens and whether Mikey Doble can carve his way through. Meanwhile, the Teams Championship is a bit more complicated in terms of finishing positions, as we still have NXTGEN Race with Douglas Motorsport on top on paper, but anything can happen, of course. And as we see the Double Sim Racing driver here of Mikey Doble getting himself set, well, he'll know that he's got to make as many moves as possible early on. But then again, we have seen a major instance at the start of both Race 1 and Race 2. On Race 1, it was on lap number 2. In Race 2, it was on the opening lap. And for the Double Sim Racing driver, he will want to be as cautious as possible not to be embroiled in any of those. It's the same for Jamie Dory, in the fact that he will not want to get caught up in a major incident, because one incident could be all it takes to upset the balance and swing it the other way, or in the favour of the leading driver of Dory right now. But as they make the way on around, well, we'll have to wait and see who is going to emerge the victor in the end. I would imagine that if there's no major incident in the opening couple of laps, you are going to see the Double Sim Racing Elantra, powered by Mikey Doble, absolutely try to storm its way through the field. And he's normally very calm and collected, but I wouldn't be surprised if the beast is unleashed in the final race of the season, as that title will mean a lot to him. But, well, we are only a minute away from going racing. And to give you an update as well on the battle for P2 in the Pro-Am Championship, and this is a battle that has got extremely close now. It is between Isaac Doble, Reese Watt, Lee Horn, and Matthew Cheverton and Alex Meredith. The quintuplet of drivers are separated, if my mathematics is correct, only by 25 points, so essentially a race win. Alex Meredith right now is the outsider for P2. He needs to win, and for everybody else to effectively gain no points. But meanwhile, Isaac Doble only holds on to the position by 5 points over Reese Watt, and then we have Lee Horn a further 9 points behind, and Matthew Cheverton a further 10. So therefore, it's between Isaac Doble and Reese Watt. Everybody else have a potential outsider, but we can never know what can happen until that final checkered flag falls. And well, as we look to Matthew Addy making his way on around, a driver who has been beset by bad luck all season. And then race number 2 finding bad luck once again. It's proved to be frustrated. I think right now the number 1 driver will just look to end his season on the best possible high and try and pick up a podium, if not the win in class. But we're going to find out, ladies and gentlemen, who's able to pull it off in the finale. Checker flag is out of the warm-up session. It is time for our 3rd and final race at the Hockenheimring and our final race of the season. So as our drivers make their way to the grid, this is how they line up for the last time. Reese Watt takes reverse grid pole position for JW Motorsport, joined on the front row by the Sim Racing Collective's Josh Millington. Behind them, Martin Shirley and Matthew Sheraton line up on row number 2, with Adam Delman and Sam Smith occupying row 3. Row 4 goes to Linus Borstrom and Wayne Douglas, with Andrea Talasco and Andrea Romy on row number 5, completing your top 10. And then it's Gavin Garner and Jamie Dory who line up on row number 6. We then have on row number 7 the pairing of John Higgins Jr. and Kieran Sharp, the 2 Sim Racing Collective drivers, trying to make it another 1-2 for the 3rd time in a row today, with Daniel Holmer and Paolo Maniti on row number 8. Row 9 goes the way of Nick Clemens and Lee Horn, followed up by Matthew Addy and Daniel Fritz to complete your top 20. There's James Vasquez-Gal and Isaac Doble on row number 11. Row 12 goes to Joseph Doble and Alex Meredith, and then on row number 13, Paul Scott and the biggest name of the field, Mikey Doble, starting P26. Watch out for him to try and cut through the field, with Andrew Pike and Ian Manners on row number 14 behind. Row 15 goes to, Lee Jones and Michael Lees, but the grid is set, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for lights, and we'll 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the final race of the season as Reese Watt looks to try and make it a win overall and in class. And as they make their way out towards turn number 1, Josh Millington coming off the inside immediately as Martin Shirley tries to make his way into the battle but can't find his way through. It's a bit of a sedate start so far, but I can expect some sparks are going to fly shortly as they make their way down towards turn number 2. 2 cars off in the rear of the picture. That's William Chadwick and also I think Mark Sykes have come together. We'll have to wait and see what's confirmed there. But as they make their way on through, in fact, it's Paul Scott and Chadwick, we should say. But as everyone comes through turn number 2, I suspect some nervousness here as meanwhile Matthew Sheraton battling side by side with Adam Delman and Martin Shirley as it's 3 wide in the run down towards turn number 6. Sheraton in the middle with the 2 pros. It's going to be what is now, I believe, Shirley going for the move up the inside onto the brakes, Delman around the outside, and as they come through the right hander, everybody stacking up on the braking here, where it's going to be Douglas who's on the inside versus Andrea Talasco, but as they exit the corner, still everybody together, nobody out of the race yet as they make their way through turn number 8 and coming on through. Well, meanwhile, Daniel Holmer here finding some a bit further behind, tucked in behind Kieran Sharp and John Higgins Jr. ahead as well as they make their way through turn number 9 and in towards 10. But as they come on through, meanwhile, driver there of Adam Delman battling side by side. We've still got a free way between Shirley, Delman and Smith. Smith trying to cut back on the inside to Delman through 10. That's going to be a bold move there from Smith. Meanwhile, got cars off. That's going to be Andrea Talasco who takes the grass. He tries to regain the car. Gavin Gardner being collected. Things carry on. It's a bit of a domino effect right now, but it looks like everyone's been able to survive for the most part. And as they make their way through turns 12, 13 and 14 into 15 and 16. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Reese Watt, Josh Millington battle for the lead as they make their way onto lap number 2. So they make their way out of the final corner after 1 lap. It's Watt who leads and Millington, albeit by only half a tenth of that. And as they make their way into the opening corner, Millington thinks about it but decides to back off. Adam Delman P3 ahead of Martin Shirley P4, Matthew Sheraton P5, followed by Sam Smith P6, then Andrea Romy P7, Jamie Dory P8, ahead of Gavin Garner P9, Johnny Jr. P10, Leas Brostrom P11. He's 3rd place in the prime class with Sheraton and Reese Watt ahead of him being the other prime podium potentials right now. As the drivers make their way out to the brakes. Meanwhile, the big question, so you may be asking, where is Mikey Doble? Well, here he is, P22, car on the inside getting rolled, and that does look to be Paolo Maniti, and Mikey Doble collected there by Paolo Maniti's car, and as they make their way on through, I think he survived most of the damage there. Multiple cars around his mark side, Shakes Francis Cow, Paolo Maniti all pointing the wrong way. Mikey Doble meanwhile some damage to the car. We'll have to wait and see whether that damage is fatal, whether he can carry on. He's going to try and press on regardless, but it looks a nasty incident. We've got a car pointing the wrong way there, and that looks to be Andrew Pike who's gone around at turn number 6, but meanwhile looking back up towards the front of the field as they make their way through the Mercedes arena. Sheraton side by side here with Jamie Dory, and I believe we may have a safety car being deployed very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. We are waiting for confirmation, but as we do see Sheraton defending on the inside here versus Andrea Romy, we're keeping it nice and calm and collected here, and Romy not able to find his way on through. Romy switches back to the inside, a bit of contact there to the rear of Sheraton's car, but Sheraton gets away with it as meanwhile, as a mistake from Dory. Dory drops down to P8, so with Higgins Jr. now as they come on through, and well for Jamie Dory, remember he needs to finish P4 He cannot just get away with finishing P8. He's got to be P4 or higher, and Doble not to score any points if he wants to take this championship crown. And Dory right now being made to absolutely work for it as the safety car is out, and therefore the racing will be neutralised when they get to the start-finish line. And for Jamie Dory, well, this is a bittersweet moment. He's having laps taken out of the race, which arguably is a good thing, in the fact it reduces the amount of time Mikey Doble has to try and make up the ground to gain points. But the converse of it is also true in the fact that this robs Dory of time to be able to go hunting for positions. But as they make the way onto lap 3, we're under safety car conditions for this time. It is literally on a knife's edge right now in terms of this overall Drivers' Championship, and well, both drivers know they've got work to do. But whilst we do have a breather, it means we take a look back at the incident which caused the safety car, and it was the freeway contact between Sykes, Spencer's Gal and Maniti, and this is what happened. As they made the way into turn number 2, you can see it's already started with Maniti being caught up and collected there by one of the Doble sim racing machines. I believe that may have been, in fact, Joseph Doble, and then Spencer Scout comes charging into the scene of the incident. But we take a look back to what happened to Paolo Maniti, the first point at this, as we look to an alternative camera angle, collected there by the Doble sim racing machine as he gets up to speed, collected again, and well, in the end goes and phases through the front of Mikey Doble's car, and then Sykes has gone around as well, and James Spencer Scout just comes charging into the scene like a ball in the china shop, and ends up having the collision, which puts him out of the race. We jump on board with Spencer Scout to see it from his perspective, and we can see he hasn't seen anything at the moment, and then suddenly there's smoke in front, basic caution initially, thinks right, I can get through this, and then cars across the road, can't see Sykes, and his race is in tatters immediately. But as we return to the live pictures now, ladies and gentlemen, everybody making their way on around behind the safety car still. And safety car not coming in at this time. It will not be coming in at the end of this lap as we're to understand it. So we've got at least one more lap behind the safety car as it gradually makes its way towards the stadium section and through it. We have had a couple of drivers into the pit lane. Mikey Doble has decided to stay out despite the damage he's potentially picked up on the car. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out in long-term statistics. But meanwhile, as everybody gets themselves set and ready to go, albeit the field just coming down at the moment, we have had a huge cluster of primes come together, including Alex Meredith here, running from P14 in the hands of Lee Horn to Irmaz in P20. So therefore they're all battling for P4 in the prime class, with the fact Linus Brushman is 3 places up the road, in fact 4 places up the road in P10. But as they make the way on around, we go to lap number 4 behind the safety car, and a lot of drivers right now will be absolutely itching to go racing once again. The only driver who I think will not be itching to go racing is this man, JW Motorsports Re-Swap, for the simple reason he would love to take the win overall and also in the prime class, so that way he can take home a nice result and really give himself the opportunity to bolster his championship campaign. And well, to put it in perspective of Re-Swap, this would be a result that is enough to enable him to snatch P2 away from his peers, particularly Isaac Doble, who's 5 points ahead of him currently based on provisional standings. But as they make the way through 4 and up towards turn 6 now, they follow the safety car still, and everybody here just taking it calm. Linus Brushman giving quite a bit of space to the rest of the drivers in front of him, interesting enough. I think the Bright Esports driver is waiting for the call when the safety car will be coming in, and then he'll try and close up the gap. I think he wants to give himself some breathing room to try and build up some tyre temperature, and this is smart driving for the Bright Esports Polski logistics machine, in the fact that I think he really does feel as though he can go for an opportunity to finish high inside the top 10, and he wants every option to be able to push the car hard when we get the restart. As our drivers make the way on and around, meanwhile all the field coming on down, and we're heading in towards turn 6 and 7. That we can see there Ian Manners just ahead of Mikey Doble, and will the JW Motorsport driver now. I think he'll be looking in his rear view mirror and gulping a little bit at the fact he has the one drive that nobody's going to want behind them on the restart, and well, it's going to be a long race ahead for all of them as they get ready and set to go. We do still have some drivers making the way on around from the pit lane on the lead lap. The P33 and P34 cars of Jake Spencer Scout and Paolo Maniti, they're still trying to recover their way onto the back of the field. But as we do look to Re-Swap make its way around, the safety car is making its way away, and I do think we might be able to back it up on the field here, as we do see what just gradually bring its way through. We are going to get the restart, ladies and gentlemen, very shortly, and the safety car's in. It's now for Re-Swap to get us racing once again. And as he makes his way out of the final corner, the safety car is in. We are racing once more as we charge away onto lap number 5 of 12 here in the final race of the season. What leads? And as they make their way to turn number 1, he nails the restart as Martin Shirley falls back to 3.5 tenths off. And as they head up towards turn number 2, well, immediately Jamie Dory here needs to pounce. He needs to pounce on John Higgins Jr. And well, if he could ask for a more difficult driver to pass, I think he's picked the hardest one to pass here. Higgins Jr. absolutely dogged and determined to want to hold on to a position there. Dory in the battle for the team's championship. him as they make for a bit of contact there between Dorian Higgins Jr. He's got to be careful with that contact because, again, he's got more to lose compared to Higgins Jr. arguably. But as they make their way down towards turn number 6, he clears his rival, but as they make their way towards the braking zone here for turn number 6, it's going to be Smith looking on the inside of Delmont, can't quite find it. Smith, meanwhile, having to worry about Sheraton behind with Andrew Romy also trying to get into the mix. Gavin Garner on the outside there versus Elias Brostrom. As Brostrom trying to fight for P9 overall. Can't quite find it this time as he goes around the outside of Mercedes versus Gardner. But Gardner has his number covered and as they make the way out towards turn number 10. Things stay as per the status quo for a brief moment. Albeit Matthew Sheraton there defending on the inside versus Andrew Romy. Loses some ground. It does look as though more and more of the pro drivers here now picking off the Aztec Racing Prime driver. Just feels as though they've got a bit more pace behind the wheel. But Sheraton's going to give them as good as he can take as they make the way through the left-hander 11. Behind Wayne Douglas here looking on the back of Elias Brostrom. Brostrom loses the rear of the car. Catches it just in time. Douglas still there, but able to capitalise on what appears to be a mistake from Brostrom as they come on through. 13 and 14, onwards they go. Meanwhile, Daniel Fritz here under pressure from Doble. Doble looking on through, gets the place done, and Doble picks up another place. And Jonathan Collins now keeps them at bay as they make the way on through and up towards 16. But as they clear the lap, they go on to lap number 6. First half of the race almost completed. Doble moves to P20, and then Fritz and Collins behind battling for position as Josh Millington also tries to get back into the hunt as they charge away into turn number 1. But through the right hander they go, and as they do, Andrew Pike here, 9 that battle for P2 is well and firmly over in the overall championship category, and now just trying to get some points for P3 of the championship to try and hold on as he makes way at the break in there, taps the rear of Millington. And the break, and I think enjoying the racing with his teammate as they make their way up towards turn at number 6. But charging on through and around now, further behind Luke Jones, looking for the move there around the outside of Michael Lees. These two enjoyed a bit of a scrap, albeit for P25, but still P25 or P1. They'll enjoy all the same as they make their way down towards turn number 6. Jones on the inside here, looking very close on the brakes. It's going to be between the two Elantra drivers. Lees is going to try and ferry it all the way around the outside. It's a tricky line to try and get it done on. Jones gives it the space, and Lees is able to use the runoff area there in order to build up a bit more speed as they come into Mercedes. For a left-hander turn 8 they go, and Jones loses out to Michael Lees there. It's a brilliantly clean racing between them as meanwhile, up towards the front of the field, we look back to Adam Delmont, who finds himself in the sandwich of Shirley and Smith as they make their way towards the end of this lap. Reese Watt's still leading, your leading prime driver, also your overall race leader, having started on pole with the reverse grid. And as they come towards the end of lap 6 and into the second half of the race, meanwhile Ian Manners in a battle side by side with Mikey Doble for turns 12 and 13. Doble picks up another place here as he gains one more, but looking at the inside of Manners is Collins. Collins can't find his way over through and has to relent instead, as meanwhile Fritz, Millington and also Andrew Pike all start to get involved with one another further behind there, the rear of the pitch, and you can see Daniel Fritz here how to try and play defensive versus Pike. Pike's got him on the inside into turn number 1. It's going to be a tight squeeze here into the right hander, but it will be Pike who gets ahead in the end as Fritz has to back off on the approach to the apex in order to respect the space. As they make their way towards turn number 2, Andrew Pike now under pressure from Fritz, albeit Fritz on the outside here into the right hander. I think this will be sealed and done before he's able to clear the apex. But going on towards turn number 6, it does look as though Fritz they're trying to come back. Meanwhile, we have had a bit of an... Oh my good lord, and what on earth has happened here at the front of the field? That is Delmont, and well, Martin Shirley right now battling with Andrew Romy. We've had Martin Shirley battling with Reese Watt as we've had a number of tries fall out of contention towards the front of the field, including Sam Smith and Adam Delmont. We'll get a replay of that very shortly, but it does now mean that Jamie Dory is P4, and if things were to finish as they currently stand, it would be Jamie Dory who takes the overall championship by what would effectively be a single point over Mikey Doble, albeit Mikey Doble's P17. He's not far away for a top 15 finish here, so it could swing either way as they make the way on through. But Dory will know he can't get complacent, he needs more places here. His next target is Robbie. He looks up the inside into turn 15, can't quite find it and has to wait. But meanwhile, what exactly happened to Adam Delmont and Sam Smith? Here's a replay, let's find out. Well, they made their way to the braking zone. Smith misses his braking point entirely and just goes careening into the back of Delmont's car. And well, my goodness, a nasty instant for the pair of them. I think there might have been brake failure for Smith's car, and just Delmont was the victim in a position where he didn't expect to be. But as they make their way out towards turn number 2, meanwhile on the live pictures here, it's Dory looking around the outside of Robbie trying to go for the move. He's trying to cut it back as they make the way on through. And Jamie Dory right now having to play the game of being more like Colin Turkington from BTCC. In the fact he knows exactly the points he needs. As we got Mikey Doble off camera, has moved up to P16 ahead of Alex Meredith. But as Jamie Dory here looks to move, he can't quite find it on Robbie or Caddy. Goes late on the brakes there, but Robbie's able to match it for braking potential every step of the way in the approach to the turn 6 right-hander. And as they exit on out, Dory is literally going to throw everything at this. This is where he's got to dig as deep as possible as they come through turn number 8. Can't quite find a way past Robbie at the moment as they head on through towards the stadium section. Meanwhile, Reese was doing very well to hold off Martin Shirley in the battle for position, but as they make the way in towards turn number 10, we'll go through the right-hander right now. We have had Ian Mansfield off the circuit somewhere, and I do believe has been involved in a major incident of his own, and we'll have to get an update. But as they come through the left-hander here, through what is turn number 11, well, right now everything is to play for between Joey Dory and Mikey Doble. We've had a question there in the YouTube chat from Stefan Vessels. Is it not that the pros get points in class? So Joey Dory is P3 in class, Doble is P9 in class. No, for this season the pro class championship has been completely scrapped. We have an overall championship, which is where the drivers finish overall. They score points for overall position, and that applies particularly to our pro drivers, where points are awarded from P1 through to P15. And then there is a Pro-Am championship where the Pro-Am class finishing positions are allotted points based on P1 to P15 as well. So therefore right now the pro class positions do not matter for the purposes of the overall championship, and that is the story here with regards to why Dory needs to finish P4 or higher should Doble not finish inside the top 15. But as they make the way through turns 3 and 4, meanwhile we do look further back to Lee Horn, who's finding himself battling hard versus Kieran Sharp as they make the way up towards turn number 6, charging all the way down they go and heading up towards the braking zone here. And Will Sharp is going to be able to find a way around the outside. It's the battle of the two Hondas. Sharp's going to fall behind initially into the braking zone. He's got the inside run now, contact on the rear of Horn for Talasco. Talasco getting a little bit aggressive down the braking, but Horn is able to hold on as they make the way out, but making the way up towards turn number 8. Well, everybody right now absolutely pitching for position, but meanwhile we do look back to Alex Meredith as we see Mikey Doble making his way through the foreground of the camera, but Meredith loses out here to Josh Millington, who goes around the outside of turn number 8. A nice move, and Andrew Pike tries to cut it back to the outside of turn number 9, but Meredith sees that coming and simply puts it and pins it on the apex, albeit it's going to be all about who gets the better run up towards the stadium section. As Doble makes his way through the camera there, Michael Lees also tries to get involved, makes it a three-way fight into turn number 10. Lees on the inside, Meredith on the outside. Now it's going to be Meredith on the inside into turn number 10. Side by side on the braking they go, and well, can Lees hold it all the way around the outside? Meredith's going to dig in here, get his head down, try to hold the position as they come from left into right. It is Lees who finally makes the position count and moves up into P8 in the Pro class, and what is P19 overall as they make the way on around. Meanwhile, it's battles aplenty at the bottom end of the top 10. That's Daniel Holber versus Kieran Sharp for P9, with Wayne Douglas in just behind, and also behind him you've also got Lee Horn and Andrea Talasco as they make the way to braking, and Talasco and Lee Horn side by side, albeit Wayne Douglas there squirming under braking as the car locks up. Lee Horn taps through Douglas's car, and it's all gone wrong for Lee Horn, as meanwhile a bit of contact there to Matthew Addy, and as they make the way on out, all this squabbling, well, right now it's taking place off them. Matthew Addy carries on, albeit with a wounded car, and Mikey Doble now only 2 seconds away from this group. He needs one more place. Kieran Dory's in P4 right now in order to take the championship, albeit there's not long left. There's only 2.5 laps remaining, including the lap they're on, and therefore it is crunch time for Mikey Doble, who is 1.5 seconds behind. You can see him here, the Doble Sim Racing driver. He's got plenty of space behind him, but he needs to find the cars in front of him. Those are the most important ones, and he'll be hoping they knock 50 Shades of Grey out to one another on the next couple of laps to close the distance even more. But as they make the way up towards turn number 10, it is Reese Watt right now who continues to lead this race. As you see your leader here, the JW Motorsport driver, who is on course to take P2 in the Pro-Am Championship, behind already a Crown Championship winner Michael Lees, as he makes his way on through. But as he does, we've had an incident, and I believe it's Wayne Douglas who's been in contact with, is it Michael Lees? Well, no, it's not. We're trying to understand he's been in contact with, but the key point here now is that Mikey Doble is into P14, and as things currently stand, he will be your overall champion with 2 laps to go. The drama continues here in the late stages of the final race of the Hockenheimring, and we'll try and get a replay of what exactly happened, but I do believe the incident has been between Wayne Douglas and William Chadwick, and here is a replay of what exactly happened. That was between Wayne Douglas and Daniel Holmer, apologies. And in the end, it was Douglas late on the brakes and taps through Holmer's car. And well, there, I think that's tied this at a little bit of hot pitch fever, just catching out the next race with Douglas Motorsport driver as he decided in the end to brake as late as possible, but it did not work out. But as our drivers make the way on around here, Doble's still trying to push on. Dory needs to try and find one more place as a minimum, but he's being frustrated by Andrea Romy as they make the way on around. And the next question you'll be asking is what happens if Dory does pass Romy? Well, he'll have 18 points versus what will be for Doble. I believe it will be 2 points, and therefore, if we do the quick mathematics, it will be Dory who takes the crown, albeit by a single point in the end, as Dory all over the back here of Robbie as they make the way through the left-hander. Turn number 8, he's going to try and go around outside to inside, through 12 into 13. Dory's going all in on this, it's going to be a gamble, and as they make the way for the right-hander, Dory gets the place. So right now, Dory is on course to take the championship crown. But as they make the way through turn number 60, it's one more lap to go. One last push from everybody here racing. White flag is out, and right now Reese Watt leads this race by 2 seconds. Meanwhile, Mikey Doble has moved into P13. He's past Nick Clements. Now the championship will go the way of Doble. There'll be equal points, but Doble will win based on race wins over the course of the season. It could not be closer. Dory needs P2. Doble, meanwhile, needs to keep pushing on in case Dory gets the position. But as things press on here, meanwhile, we look to Martin Shirley versus Jamie Dory as they come through turns 3 and 4. Side by side on corner exit. It's a drag race to turn 6. One of the last major overtaking spots on the circuit. And as they make the way down towards the right-hand hairpin, it's going to be Dory on the outside, Shirley on the inside. Shirley will have the brakes, but Dory will have the boldness here. He's got to go for broke. He can't afford to lose anything, but he goes overly deep. And on the inside goes Higgins Jr. There's contact between them. Shirley holds the position. And as they make the way up towards the left-hander at turn number 8 right now, Shirley holds on. He's doing everything to clear on to P2 for RD Simsport, but Dory in return wants it just as much. And as they come through turn number 9 up towards 10, right now there's only another 6 corners to go. It's almost over, but it's not over till the checkered flag. And as they make the way in towards the right-hander, anything can happen. As they come through, Dory goes a bit deep. He's under pressure from Andrea Romy as they look under braking into turn number 11. They come through. Higgins Jr. looks up the inside. That's going to give Dory a breather, but not the breather he wants. For as they make the way to the final corner, well, Reese Watt is going to repeat his heroics from season 2 by coming on through to take the win, not just in Pro class, but overall for JW Motorsport as he takes the checkered flag and makes his way to victory. Meanwhile, Martin Shirley takes the Pro win. P2 there overall ahead of Jamie Dory P3, Johnny Stewart P4, Andrew Romy P5, Gary Goller P6. Matthew Shelton P7, leaders push to P8, they round off the prime podium. But meanwhile for Mikey Doble, he comes across the line and it's P13. And I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, that means he will take the championship crown on race wins with equal points between Jamie Dory and Doble. Will have to await confirmation of that. But Doble has just done it, if my maths is correct, by the smallest of margins in NXTCC history. We've still got more drivers to finish their races, however. Paolo Maniti comes on through to take P20. Albeit he's in a battle right now with James Spanskis-Gal, and as they come through at turn number 11, I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe how this race has unfolded, and for some drivers like Maniti and Spanskis-Gal, it's been a race of misfortune from left, right and centre, but still they're fighting on to the very end as they come through the right-hander. And as they clear turn number 16, it'll be Maniti who finishes P28, P17 the prime class ahead of James Spanskis-Gal as he comes on through to take the final finishing position on the lead lap P29. Daniel Hummer finished the lap down P30 along with Wayne Douglas and Mark Sykes. But meanwhile, as Reese Watt just gradually makes his way towards the pit lane, the JW Motorsport driver knew what he had to do in this race from starting on pole, and he delivered it. He is your runner-up in the Prime Championship behind Michael Lees in a deserved end to the season after what was looking to be a championship battle on the line, and in bad luck in 4 rounds back-to-back took him out of contention, but he's recovered it to the run-up spot in the Prime class. Meanwhile, for Jamie Dory, well, we do believe it's commiserations. He's missed out by race wins. Equal on points come the finishing positions. We'll have to get that confirmed, ladies and gentlemen. The next generation of Douglas Motorsport driver will have the update for us in due course. But then it will be for Mikey Doble. Not the way he wanted to get it done, but it will mean Subject to confirmation, he has defended his title by race wins on equal points come the finish, if our maths is correct, with that P13 overall. Of course, all this provisional subject to stewards' inquiries after the races, but the number 88 driver there, I think, will know that sometimes it's too close to call, and today has certainly been exactly that. As meanwhile, we wait to see how it all unfolds with regards to the final statistics, but our drivers make the way on around, and well, as we have got a number of drivers, I think, parking up on what is there, the turn 1, turn 2 runoff area, and doing quite a few donuts as Matthew Shelton makes his way into the pit lane, so he's not going to be taking part in those. We do look to the blimp camera, and well, as we can see there, everybody right now having to do reverse donuts in these front engine, front wheel drive cars, given the fact they suffer from understeering, therefore you can't get the rear tyres to burn up like you can in most motorsporting cars where they're rear wheel drive, but instead using reverse gear there to essentially make the front wheels act as rear wheel drive, and everyone knowing the season is over and having a little bit of a jolly moment here as Gavin Gardner as well, very happy with his P6 come the end of the season in this final race. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. Reese Watt in the end after another 12 laps of brilliant racing all the way to the end, taking the win by 2.5 seconds for JW Motorsport over Martin Shirley. That win being overall and in the Pro-Am class. I do believe that means that Reese Watt continues the history behind his name in the NXTCC. He is the only Pro-Am driver to have taken an overall win in the NXTCC. He did it in Season 2 at Oschersleben. He has done it again here today at Hockenheim. It does seem as though German circuits favour the man along with the reverse grid that comes with it, but that's all part of the game of fortune. But we can't take anything away from the 37 driver for his stoic defence versus the pros behind him. Martin Shirley P2 for RD Simsport, battling hard, but in the end having to hold off Jamie Dory to line, with Jamie Dory finishing P3 on the overall podium for NXTGEN Racing with Douglas Motorsport. Behind them, John Higgins Jr. P4, batting all the way to the finish for the Sim Racing Collective. But I do believe with the way the results have gone today, NXTGEN Racing with Douglas Motorsport will have just inched out the Sim Racing Collective to take the Team Championship crown, with GRT Esport P5 there for Andrea Romy. P6 went the way of Gavin Gardner ahead of Matthew Cheverton, with the Aztec Racing driver hold off Linus Brostrom, and it was a Pro-Am podium of Watt, Cheverton and Brostrom to the end, with the Aztec Racing and Bright Esports drivers both getting deserved podiums ahead of Andrea Talasco for VRGT Racing Team, who couldn't quite make it 3 podiums out of 3 today, but still back-to-back wins in races 1 and 2. He'll be pleased with that way to end his season. Kieran Sharp P10 for the Sim Racing Collective. We'll look forward to him in Season 4, given he's been a late joiner as of round number 9, but definitely showing his potential. Ahead of Lee Hornbester SP11 for NXTGEN Racing Yellow, just outpaced his teammate Matthew Addy to line, and then Mikey Doble P13, the position in which is enough. Unlucky for some, the number, but fortunately for him, it will be enough for him to take the crown, as we do believe. We'll confirm that when we go into our post-round interviews, with Josh Middleton P14 ahead of Nick Clemens P15. Andrew Pike just missing out on the top 15 finishing in, but P16, a good recovery, given the way things have played out today, ahead of Michael Lees, with Alex Meredith P18 ahead of Daniel Fritz and Joseph Doble to round off the top 20. And then Jonathan Collins P21 in one of his better performances of the season for NXTGEN Racing Blue, just outpacing Paul Scott to line, his teammate, with Luke Jones P23 ahead of Isaac Doble and William Chadwick. A difficult day for the Altus Esports driver, but still, I'm sure there's plenty more to cover for him next season. Ian Manners P26 ahead of Jake Pitt, with Paolo Maniti P28, and then round off the top 30, James Vasquez-Gal, who was the last finisher on the lead lap, P29 for Aztec Racing, and Bright Esports' Daniel Holmer finishing a lap down at P30 in the end. Mark Sykes finished 2 laps down, P31 for NXTGEN Racing Blue, but classified the same for Wayne Douglas for NXTGEN Racing with Douglas Motorsport. That unfortunate incident towards the end between him and Daniel Homer, but he'll finish 3 laps down, classified P32. And then iRacing Esports is Sam Smith 5 laps down, P33, ahead of Adam Delman for NXTGEN Racing with Douglas Motorsport, who finished 6 laps down and therefore will be classified as a finisher, and it means that all 34 starters finished the race for the final race of the season. But goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, what a season finale to be remembered throughout the annals of history in the NXTCC and NXTGEN Racing Series in general. But we're not quite done yet, of course, as we have got our post-round interviews coming up in approximately 10 to 15 minutes' time. And they're definitely ones you're not going to want to miss, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back with them very soon. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for our post-round interviews with our selected drivers. But before we do that, we have had a dramatic conclusion to the overall championship, and we thought it had gone the way of Mikey Doble based on race wins. But after dissecting the race results over 10 rounds of racing, we can actually confirm, ladies and gentlemen, and you're not going to believe this, Jamie Dory is your overall drivers' champion. That's right. When we've gone back through, both Mikey Doble and Jamie Dory finished the season on 283 points apiece. But then when it was broken down on result count back, in fact, both Dory and Doble have had 2 wins to each other's names. So then we have to go based on second places. And, well, you wouldn't believe this either. In terms of second places, 2 second places apiece over the season. So it comes down to third place finishes. And on third place finishes, that is where Dory has had more third places. In fact, we're a grand total of what has been, I do believe, 5 third place finishes to Doble's 3. And therefore, the title has gone to Jamie Dory based on third place finishes in an NXTC season contested by the 2 defending champions effectively over the previous seasons. And well, you couldn't have asked for it to be closer. We can also confirm in the Teams Championship that it has gone the way of NXTGEN Racing with Douglas Motorsport. And we've had the previous confirmation in the Prime Championship. Michael Lees was able to seal the deal there. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologise for misleading you at the end of the race, but we did say it's provisional subject to confirmation, and we've had confirmation from the administration team that in fact Jamie Dory is your championship winner, and he now joins me in the interview room. Well, Jamie, congratulations firstly on taking the championship crown based on countback, the closest type of result you could ever ask for. You probably can't believe it how it's gone today.
Mate, to be honest, no, I just had to finish consistently, and I was doing that. Had my teammate, luckily, spotting for me, telling me where Mikey was, hence why I got a bit boisterous towards the end and had to get those positions. And when I went across the line, I realised we were joint on points, and personally, I thought Mikey had more wins, but it turns out we had 2 apiece. Then it was P2s. Again, I thought Mikey had more, but we had 2 apiece. And P3s, we were joint until tonight, where I got those 2, so they went in my favour. I get it on count back to P3s. Yeah.
I can hear it in your voice, the exhaustion from today and also that tension all the way through. But now you can relax. The championship is yours. Subject to post-round stewarded, of course, but we always have to say that it's provisional until the final verdicts are in. But what a trio of races. And it all started for yourself with a qualifying session which saw you qualify on the second row of the grid. It looks like the Sim Racing Collective had the edge over NXTGEN Racing with Douglas today.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said before the race, it's a good track. It's got strong components for each car. I know we can't keep going on about tracks, but it's the Honda is so well on its chassis. So that last section, it's just blistering fast. The Veloster is a good all-round car. It's good out of medium speed traction zones. And then you got the Audi that's quick down the straight. Obviously, with the weight doesn't help with the last 4 or 5 laps. So, to be honest, the safety cars helped a hell of a lot. I'm glad they were there, just to be able to get my car up to temp, get the tyres up to temp. And I'd like to say I'm quite good at getting the car up to temp under safety car conditions, so I could really attack straight off the bat and just try. I mean, Junior was all over me. Hats off to that lad.
Indeed, and all the way through the races, we did see all 3 races plagued by a major incident. It seems like it was always one incident that brought things to a halt. And you're talking about getting your tyres back up to temperature, but also, did you plan for there to be safety cars, Nate? Not in terms of saying that the safety cars were organised by yourself, but in terms of thinking there will be a safety car very likely in each race, so therefore you've got to get ready for it.
To be honest, I didn't think they were. I thought there'd be a low chance of one tonight, just because of how wide the track is. I would have thought like last week would have been more of an opportunity, just because of the undulations and turning, and it was a very compact track at Sonoma. So tonight, I didn't think there would be one, hence why I was quite we had a little plan going into quali. We had a little team meeting, so to speak. I don't know how much you saw quali, but you could see us all quite close together. The plan was to try and just get that extra little bit to put us in a fighting position. And yeah, so obviously from there, it was just trying to keep the nose clean, using the Hyundais, just the Velocitas, all rounders, just to stay there. And yeah, I can't believe it's gone down to this year. It still hasn't sunk in.
Oh, indeed. And whilst it still sinks in, speaking about that battle between yourself and John Higgins Jr., particularly in race number 2 today, we did see towards the end of the race with Higgins Jr. started to get a bit more aggressive in his approach to take P2. It was almost if you started to deploy what we'd like to refer to from Season 1, be more Turkington in your approach, just knowing to protect the car and get the points on the board. Just talk us through that balancing act.
Yeah, so obviously I had pace straight off the safety car with was it Sharp or Millington? One of them, Sharp, I think it was. The lead TSRC. It's basically I had kind of a window to work on, and then as soon as I realised I couldn't get past them, I was kind of like, okay, I'll hold position in P2. As always, Junior never gives up. He's always in the back of your mind, especially if he's near you. He never gives up, and he's a bloody good racer. So I was kind of like, okay, we're just. He was getting a bit. I could see him looking for places, and I could see where his car was stronger. I tried to hold on to P2 just to try and close that point deficit. Obviously, 21 to 18 would have been 3 points, so the last race would have gone down to 12 points, so it would have been a bit closer. However, going side by side with Junior, I've got a championship to lose, so I got to the point of, yeah, I'm not going to be able to keep doing this for too long without destroying these tyres. So, as you say, the Turkington-esque approach kind of took a stand, especially when you're getting a little green writing saying car contact coming up. You've got to think of the bigger picture, shall we say.
Oh, most definitely. And then the biggest picture of them all, going into race number 3, a reverse grid top 14 only, while the smallest ones we've had this season couldn't have come at a more critical time, and Mikey Doble was starting P26 to your P12.
Yeah, obviously that reverse grid draw was tense. I was sat in with Mikey and co, and yeah, I'm glad it's a low number. Obviously, it's the same thing. It's the cars around you that aren't necessarily fighting for a championship that you've just got to look at where and when. Luckily or unlucky for them, there was a few incidents that gave me a few places quite easily. So yeah, it was just trying to bring it home. And then every time I saw Mikey gain a position, like I said, I had Gavan in my ear with his Race Labs telemetry on going, Mikey's this place, Mikey's P16, Mikey's P15. I was like, right, P15, I'm P. And we were working it out. And then towards the last couple of laps, it was Romy, Shirley, myself, and Junior. And it got a bit tense, but luckily they made contact and let me sneak on through there. So I was like, I'm not looking back from here.
Oh, indeed. And at one point, trying to make the move for P2 versus Martin Shirley, it seems as though the RD Simsport driver wanted to hang in there as much as possible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, I would. He's done everything he can. I mean, you sat there, you're so fixated on what's going on and trying to work. Those last 5 laps was just maths calculation in my head whilst driving, trying to do so much. I was literally just. It was a risk against reward. But yeah, I mean, Martin done a stellar defence. Martin being a lone driver for himself, RD Simsport, he's done great all season, so he deserves a decent finish.
Oh, indeed, but a finish that does not necessarily compare immediately to your own in taking the championship crown with 3 P3s on the run today. You've become champion once again, having been our inaugural overall champion in Season 1. And I have to ask now, what's next for yourself? Is it the Season 4 championship defence?
Well, yeah, it's got to be really, isn't it? I mean, to be honest, do I run the number 1 car again? Probably not. That number seems to be a curse. I ran it after Season 1, didn't do too well. Addy ran it this season, hasn't done too well. I'll have to think about that. But I mean, let's face it, when Mikey rejoins, which he's pretty much said he will, it's not going to be an easy one. And you got the likes of Pike and things like this. It's going to be again another great season with a slight twist with weights this coming season. So hopefully it'll go down to the last round and last race again, which is what we're here for.
100% with you on that. And if this season has been any indicator, I'm sure it was. It's been the closest season we've had thus far in the NXTCC's history. But just before we do let you go, Jamie, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I just literally just got off the phone to John Higgins Senior, Higgins Automotive, who's going to be sponsoring next season. He's put some money in the pot, so obviously there'll be some promo going out with that. Obviously look at Higgins Automotive around on social medias, Facebook especially. Obviously he's going to be on the cars next season, so it's a pleasure to have him on board. Obviously we will post more and more about that out as usual. Bit of a long thank you. Yourself, Paul, sitting in that comm box booth, managing to keep your voice and keeping it professional. To be honest, mate, I don't know how you do it. All of the admin, everyone involved at NXTGEN, we spend so much time, blood, sweat, tears, literally neglecting the family from doing this. When you have 30 plus car grids, it's worth its while, and that's why we do it. Every single driver involved for taking part and making this season what it is. The likes of, Will Chadwick, who's mega, who's come in halfway through the season and just shown everyone how it's done. And I'm kind of worried about next season if he's coming in full time. Mikey for turning up, even though he's got a lot of commitments in real life. Everyone involved really. I know I've just mentioned those guys, but they're the first ones that pops to my head. And obviously for tonight, my family, my mum and dad who've been watching me, my biggest supporters who thought I'd lost the championship. I was like, hang on a minute, just the usual guys, everything. Yeah, the whole collective makes this work. So I'm just the forefront of it, but everyone contributes. So thank you.
Well, Jamie, on that note, it's been a pleasure to have you join me in the interview room as always. Allow me to say congratulations once again on becoming our two-time overall NXTCC champion. A well-deserved title going your way, and what a way to wrap it up with 3 third places on a run today at the Hockenheimring. We wish you all the best in your preparations for Season 4. We look forward to seeing you back on the grid in a few weeks' time.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you, mate.
All the best. So hearing there from Jamie Doyle, absolutely exhausted and exasperated Jamie Doyle. You can understand why. I think all the way through tonight it was that back and forth seesaw, and for the whole season it really has been as well. We saw early on in the season it did look to be going the way of Jamie Doyle in the opening 5 rounds, but then things turned at the Nürburgring. Mikey Doble securing his first wins of the season, and those wins proving pivotal in suddenly shaking up the championship and going to Brands Hatch and onwards into the second half of the season. It looked as though it was going the way of the double sim racing drive to defend, but going into Sonoma and the last round as of today, we saw at Sonoma things start to level out to a degree, and the Hockenheimring proved to be the bad luck in the run for Mikey Doble. But for Jamie Dory, it was all about consistency, and that consistency has rewarded him, albeit based on result count back down to 3rd place finishes. But still, whether you win by an inch or a mile, winning is winning, as they like to say, and that is how Jamie Dory has taken the championship crown. As we now come on to our second interview of today, we'll very shortly be hearing from Mikey Doble, runner-up in the overall championship, and we'll get his perspective on that, perhaps some of the degree of frustration for tonight, particularly in race 2, and also a retrospective on what has been his championship campaign, and what has definitely been a highly successful one in working through the Hyundai Elantra. But as he does get ready to join me very shortly, we'll also get to hear his perspective on what has been the choice of Elantra and what lies in wait for the season ahead. But as he does join me now in the interview room, Mikey, it's not quite the way you wanted it to go in the end, based on equal points, but down to 3rd place finishes. It was tough out there, but you gave it everything by the looks of things.
Yeah, it's That's the way it goes sometimes. Obviously, congratulations to Jamie for taking another championship in the touring cars. But yeah, it's a tough one to take, to be honest. Lost out due to other people's accidents and contact and everything. But you know, I guess it's what the ballast and the racing is designed to do in this championship.
Oh, indeed. And when we caught up with you before going into qualifying, you mentioned about the fact it was going to be a difficult day ahead, and taking P17 in qualifying, it looked as though you were able to get as much as possible out of the car, and then it was all going to come down to the races.
Yeah, well, it wasn't for the want of trying. I mean, I did quite a lot of practice last night with them, which I don't normally do, but I thought the car isn't going to suit this track particularly well, and then add 70 litres of fuel into the car. It's going to be even worse, and that was all I had. You know, I did lap after lap within a tenth, but yeah, it worked out. I was 4 tenths off pole, but it put me in P17, so yeah, it was set me back from the start. But race 1 didn't go too badly actually after that.
Well, indeed, and speaking of race 1, a P11 finish in the end and battling hard at one point moving up to P8, but a small knock set you back just outside the top 10. But it looks like for the most part you're able to get more out of the car under race conditions compared to qualifying.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I've been strong this season, is to bag the points where I can when I've got full ballast and try and keep it clean in the races and hold position. But yeah, I just got tangled up with a couple of people who I thought, in my opinion, were racing me too hard for the circumstances in where we were, and we were making unnecessary contact, which was slowing us all down in that section of the midfield. But yeah, I ended up getting into a rut, running round in 11th, and didn't have the pace underneath me to make any more progress, but still actually extended my championship lead after race 1, so that wasn't really the problem.
Indeed, and then coming on to perhaps the problem of the day, or what started to compound the problems at race number 2. It was a good start, charging up through the field, and then suddenly a major incident which saw you relegated to P26 at the finish.
Yeah, just nothing I could do to avoid that. Again, I think there's some very aggressive driving going on in the middle of the top 10 there, and just come round the corner and someone's made contact ahead of me, spun, and then it cut back and cut across the front of me and Michael, I think, in the other Elantra, and it gave me damage to my car that resulted in the meatball flag, which meant I had to come to the pits to take a fast repair, and obviously that was race over from there. Was never going to score any points.
Well, indeed, but with that and race 3 then lying in wait, of course finishing P26 mean you were outside of the range for the potential reverse grid. I have to ask, going into the final race of the season, we expected you to be no holds barred trying to charge your way through, and it looked as though from the outset, before the safety car, that was the plan.
Yeah, obviously I was trying to make as many places up as I could at the beginning. Was going to not play Mr. Nice Guy anymore. Was coming through regardless of how many casualties I took, really, as that's the way I've been raced all season. But yeah, again, I was making a move around the outside at turn 2, and someone else made contact with my brother, I think, and cut across the front of my bonnet, gave me some front end damage, which hurt the car in a straight line performance for the rest of the race. So I was kind of I was picking places off, but just benefiting from other people's accidents ahead of me. And 13th was the best I could manage, and obviously on tonight that wasn't good enough.
Well, indeed, it's unfortunate, but I have to ask, were you at any point sort of looking at the position once you moved into P15, or was it just go as far as you can and then review it at the end? Because in the commentary booth, it was constantly a seesaw of it. You've done it, you haven't done it, you might have done it. What was going through your mind at that time?
Yeah, I sort of had a rough idea of where I needed to finish, and I saw Jamie get up to 3rd place there, so I then knew that 13th probably wasn't going to be good enough to secure it. I knew that I was probably about tied on points, but I didn't really know how the count back would work. So if I had an opportunity to take a swipe at the car in front and maybe get through, then I would have absolutely done that. But it was the opposite. The opportunity never presented itself, unfortunately, and obviously no one else made any more mistakes ahead of me. So yeah, credit to Jamie. He's driven a blinding night tonight to get 3 podiums there. you know, and he's a deserved champion with the way he drove. But yeah, it's a shame, I think, from my part to lose out on the championship due to other people's driving, I think.
Well, indeed, unfortunate, but at the same time, it can't take away from what has been a very strong performance from yourself. At the first half of the season, it looked as though things were not quite getting underway until the Nürburgring, and then a superb run of results despite maximum success balance for the majority of the second half of the season. There must be some happy moments to take away from Season 3.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Season 1 I didn't really take part in much, but Season 2 I really committed with the Honda and managed to take quite a commanding victory in that car. But I really got to the bottom, to the sweet spot in that Honda and knew exactly how to drive it. So this season, I just wanted to change it up a bit and try something different and try and show people that it's not all one in the Honda. It's not the only car you can win in. And I wanted to persevere in the Elantra. And yes, after 2 rounds in, I thought I'd made a terrible mistake and I was going to have a nightmarish rest of the season. Every Tuesday night I thought was going to just be horrendous driving this tankish car, but I got used to it in the end and I learned how to drive it and where it's good. I learned how to get it off the line as well, because it's probably the hardest TCR car in the game to get off the start quickly. And yeah, like I say, come the mid-season I managed to work out how to make it tick, and obviously had a very good Nürburgring to take 2 wins and a 3rd place, and then from there that kind of catapulted me to the championship lead, and I've had full success ballast ever since. It's just been about trying to stay out of trouble and manage the gap and beat those other people that had full success ballast. But yeah, it's definitely, the competition stepped up this season. The times have got even closer. It's great to see such big grids out there, week in, week out, and the numbers haven't really dipped as the season's gone on, so that's great. But yeah, we'll have to decide what car and how the strategy to take into next season.
Well, it sounds like we can definitely take you as confirmed for Season 4 then, and looking to try and level the field versus Jamie Dory.
Yeah, I'll be here. Yeah, we'll all be out in full force, Doble and me and Joseph and Isaac, in the team, I'm sure. Maybe we can come out all guns blazing, maybe in the same machinery this time, and see what we can do.
Well, I'm sure everybody tuning in right now would love to see that in Season 4. More on the story of Season 4 later on this broadcast. But just before we do let you go, Mikey, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a special mention to live on the broadcast this evening?
Yeah, all my family, grandparents, parents watching from their various homes. Any other family members that are tuning in from the Facebook link tonight, thanks for watching. To all of NXTGEN, Jamie and his team for putting on another great season. I think they're just getting better and better. The organisation skills are way above and beyond some of the other leagues I've raced in. Obviously to you, Paul, for amazing coverage as always, keeping everyone entertained from their homes. Yeah, I don't think I've missed anyone out. And looking forward to Season 4.
Well, Mike, it's been a pleasure to have you in the interview room as always. And whilst it wasn't the championship title defence you were expecting in the end, still congratulations on being our runner-up in the overall championship for Season 3 of the NXTCC. We look forward to seeing yourself and your brothers on circuit representing Double Sim Racing again in Season 4 later on this year. But until then, we wish you all the best and wish you the best of luck in your ongoing endeavours in the BTCC. So hearing that from Mikey Doble, and what an evening it has been for him and indeed for most drivers in the field. But you can understand from his perspective, we do see him on his cool-down lap here after the race concluded. The feeling of missing out in the end and feeling as though being raced hard by other drivers around him. And when you are in that situation when everything is on the line, it does really start to come at you, and it feels as though every time somebody battles with you, it's not necessarily at the right time to battle. And with that, for the number 88 driver, he missed out by the finest of margins today. And that race too, if it had not been that instant, could we have seen things go a completely different different way in this season? Well, it's all the what-if questions and more, but still, it's great to hear he's going to be back for Season 4, and I can imagine right now he and the team at Double Sim Racing will be thinking about what they can do for Season 4 already, and be looking to come back fighting fit and ready to level the field in the overall championship with 2 to Jamie Doria and 1 to Mikey Doble. They want to make it 2 out of 2, and I think we do have an NXTCC rivalry that is going to last us through the ages of the series. But as we now move on to our next interviewee, we'll be hearing very shortly from Michael Leese. And well, what a day it has been for Michael Leese in bringing on home the Prime Championship crown, essentially 2 races before the finish. And from that point onwards, being able to take liberties a little bit more with regards to his racing, but still enjoying the racing all the same. And it was a challenging one for him in the fact that after race 1, races 2 and 3 did not quite go the way he wanted them to, and we'll hear his perspective on that and more now as he joins me in the interview room. Michael, congratulations firstly on sealing the Prime Championship with 2 races to spare, and I get the feeling that in seeing the championship early, you're pretty grateful for that with the way races 2 and 3 played out in practice.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, race 1 was all right. But yeah, after that, it was a bit messy, wasn't it, in the midfield there? But can I just say, before we say anything else, like, what a finish to that overall championship. That was crazy. Coming down to 3rd place finishes, it's as close as you can get, isn't it?
Oh, most definitely. It's been the closest we've ever seen, and I think it's gone to show how strong the success balance and the field coming together has really made this championship whole. And all the way through this championship in the Prime class, you've been pushed to the limit from race to race and round to round, and it seemed as though in the end you were just able to keep that consistency where others were not able to.
Yeah, well, that was one of my main focuses, was survive lap 1 and just score every round if I can do, and just try and stay out of all the carnage, and if I had to give up places, give them up and earn them back later, that was my key objective, was just to finish and bag points every race, and that's what I did, and that's it ultimately what ended up getting me the championship, and it helped as well getting, not being wiped out on lap 1. I got the full seat time of every race, and I'd learned a lot about the car throughout the season, because I was having exactly the same problems as Mikey Doble. At the beginning I thought, what have I done picking this car? This is awful. And then eventually got used to it and sort of found out how to make it quick, and in the end, won the Pro-Am Championship in it. But I can tell you something for nothing, I will not be driving it next season.
Oh goodness, well, we'll come back to that and ask you what you may be driving in Season 4. But with regards to the races today, we'll see with qualifying working out very nicely, putting it on pole, and then going into race number 1 with that P12 finish, which was enough to seal the championship. I have to ask, with races 2 and 3, did you change your approach at all in terms of, we talked about you focusing more on the team's championship, but that also potentially changed your attitude in terms of those battles out on circuit?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Race 2 is a completely different ball game to race 1 and every other race in the season. Yeah, race 2 was all about me trying to get ahead of Lee's rivals, essentially, and then if Lee was behind, I was going to back them up. I was going to be a rolling roadblock, a good teammate, if you like. But everything was always going to be clean, always, because that's what it's all about, good, clean racing. But I didn't really get the chance. Ended up in a few multi-car accidents. I don't think any of them were like my fault, but that's racing, isn't it? And I did what I could for the team in the last 2 races, and I'm happy. I don't actually know what happened with the Pro-Am final results for the podium. So I don't know. Could you fill me in on that?
Yeah, we can do indeed. Provisionally, it's Reese Watt who finished runner-up and Isaac Doble who finished 3rd, just edging out Lee Horn by 2 points.
2 points. Oh, see, I didn't do a good enough job as a teammate then. Oh well. Sorry, Lee.
Oh, goodness me. Well, I'm sure Lee will appreciate your apology. But at the same time, with race 2 involving a rather nasty smash which saw you finish P30 and then only a top 14 inversion for race number 3, I get the feeling it was all guns blazing for the final race of the day. But even there, a nasty incident early on almost brought that all to a close.
Yeah. Luckily, you've got the fast repair. So the safety car came out. I thought, right, I'll take the fast repair. There's not that many people behind me still alive and kicking. So, took it. Andrew Pike took it in front of me as well. And yeah, didn't particularly lose that many places. So when I come out, I had a fresh car and could scrap my way back and just try and pump in them fast laps. Just have a load of fun, really. Being the last race of the season, it's in the last race I'm going to have in that Elantra probably ever. It was just have as much fun as possible, and I enjoyed it. It's a good way to wrap things up.
Well, indeed, and that's been one of the things that's really come across with yourself all the way through the season. You're having fun all the time, albeit serious behind the wheel of the car, but also jolly outside of the car. And I get the feeling that's probably aided you along the way in terms of over each and every round to manage that level of performance. And there have been some highlights. Would you mind sharing your highlights of the season?
Highlights. I mean, obviously, whenever I've got a Pro-Am win, that's been a highlight, and top 10 finishes. But for me, I quite enjoyed last time out at Sonoma, and I overtook quite a lot of people round the outside on that double right-hander. After the big downhill left, there's like a double right-hander onto the back sort of wiggly section, and I must have overtaken like 6 people around there. And each one of them, whenever I saw one back on the broadcast, I was like, "Yeah, that looks nice."
Oh, indeed. And well, with those highlights in mind, and looking ahead now to next season, Season 4, it sounds as though you're already signed up, but looking to change the car. Can we get an idea of what you may be changing to?
So I've already been informed that I have no choice. I will be in the pro classification, so I'm not expecting to challenge for the title there, but I am hoping to get stuck in for hopefully overall podiums. I'm going to be doing a little bit of testing of cars, as since the last iRacing build, like I say, the Elantra got nerfed and it's, for me, no longer a viable car. So I don't particularly like the Honda, even though it's very strong. So for me, it's going to be between the Audi and the Veloster. I did race the Veloster last season and I did enjoy it. So potentially move back to that. But I'm going to give the Audi a good try since they've fixed the issue it had over curbs, and it now takes curbs a bit better. It might actually be the strongest package out there with how well it gets out of corners and how well it goes down the straights. Because when you're trying to overtake people, having a car like the Elantra, which is only fast in the middle of the corner, it's not really much good.
I see. Well, it'll be interesting to see which of the two you do pick going into Season 4, and we eagerly await to see the unveiling in due course. But just before we do let you go, Michael, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a special thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
So obviously I want to thank NXTGEN for, first of all, having me as one of their drivers, but second, for putting on such a great championship and being run so well. It's been loads of fun, and I do look forward to Season 4. I want to thank anybody who's supported me, anybody who's watched me throughout the year. I want to thank all the drivers that I've been able to race closely and fairly, door to door with, and I had a lot of fun with. The ones that have shown respect out there and not gone over the limits and made things messy, shall we say. And hopefully, we can get them people back next season and a few more like them, and we can just keep building this momentum and, pack the grids with absolutely, class drivers throughout. And I think we will. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So thanks again, NXTGEN. Thank you, Paul, for everything that you do. And, yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Michael, in the commentary booth, and thank you for joining me in the interview room once again. Congratulations on your Pro-Am Championship crown. Of course, you won't be in a position to defend it next season, as you will be moved up to Pro, but we look forward to seeing your antics and exploits at the very top of the field. But until then, enjoy the moment, celebrate it, and we'll catch you again in a few weeks' time.
It feels good. Thank you, Paul. See you next time. See you in August, I believe.
Oh, indeed. We'll see you in August. So hearing there from Michael Lees, absolutely pleased as punch with his performances this season. And well, you could hear it there himself, that excitement and that enjoyment of the racing. And talking quite candidly about the Elantra and what it has meant with regards to his choice of car and working through the car, and comparing much like with Mikey Doble, once he's got a grip of the car, being able to exploit its performance over the course of the season, but not wanting to run it again in Season 4, or even despite the fact he's been looking to move away from the car. We've seen some absolutely brilliant driving from the NXTGEN Racing Yellow driver throughout this season, some notable podiums and wins. And they've really led to him taking it all the way to the top of the standings, albeit at the same time as well keeping out of trouble for the most part. And tonight really the first races where he's been involved in major incidents, both in race 2 and 3, but always compared to most of his peers, staying relatively away from danger, and that has been the story of his success. And like we say, very jovial off the circuit, very serious on the circuit, and that's definitely the right mix for a championship winner. But seeing him in pro class, I think it's definitely going to see him step it up a notch. And could we see perhaps an outsider for the pro title in Season 4? Well, time will tell. As we now come on to our final interview of this evening, it's none other than John Higgins Jr. And as we get ready to speak to the Sim Racing Collective driver, it is going to be an interesting interview for the simple reason he's had highs, he's had lows, but today he's definitely had one of the highs of the season. And as he gets ready to join me now, we'll get to hear more about the story of the Sim Racing Collective driver over the course of all 10 rounds. As we say hello to John Higgins Jr. now. John, it's been an absolutely roller coaster ride of a season for yourself. After round number 1, leading the championship from Silverstone, Imola was absolutely punishing in round number 2, and it's been a bit of a yo-yo all the way through. But today you've ended on a high, 2 podiums and a 4th place. You must be absolutely pleased to go out on a bang.
Yeah, from starting the season off well by winning the opening round to having the rest of the season barely getting into the points because faults from my own, but other people as well. But to end the season how it did, 2 second places and a 4th place, and some mega racing with Jamie all night. So hats off to him. But yeah, definitely a really good night.
Oh, indeed. And, well, going into tonight, we did see the Sim Racing Collective as a whole looking very strong. You put it P2 on the grid behind your teammate Kieran Sharp, and I think you guys were aiming for 1-2s all the way through the night.
Yeah, from practice last night, we knew that we had the pace in qualifying to put it at least in the top 5, but I don't expect us to both be on the front row, so the plan was just to get our heads down and try and close the gap for the team championship, really, because we both had nothing to lose. So we were just aiming for the team championship, which we did in the first 2 races. And then, but the only thing bad about that is that Jamie's team, who were still leading, they finished behind us 3rd, 4th, I think, every race. So even though we were 1-2, we were still not gaining much.
It was unfortunate, and well, with that in mind, we did see the 2 of you really put together a great string of results in races 1 and 2. And just on that note, in terms of the dynamic, we saw you seem to act a bit more as a rear guard all the way through, but I get the thing, you don't mind getting your elbows out versus some of the strongest drivers in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I see a lot of people moving out the way for Jamie, but I just didn't think that should be the case. We were racing pretty hard all night, so I wasn't going out without a fight, that's for sure.
When we saw that batting extend through both races 1 and 2, and sometimes getting very near the mark, and race 3 it seemed to really step up a notch, albeit the top 14 inverted grid. I have to ask your feelings on having to battle your way all the way through to the top 5?
I actually enjoyed it, but my teammate Andrew Pike, he started mid-pack every race, and it didn't end well for him. So I knew I was in store for some crashes, but I think we gained 6 places on the first lap, and then a safety car got thrown. So I was able to warm my tyres up and stuff like that. So after that, we were pushing. Mega fight with Jamie again. So yeah.
Well, indeed, great battling between the two of you all the way to the very end of the race. And in the race 3, we saw you a couple of times go for the move for P3, if not P2, not just versus Jamie Dory, but also the likes of Andrea Romy and Martin Shirley. But at the same time, it looks so was the brakes on the Honda are very strong. Sometimes they don't quite have enough compared to what you were trying to pull off.
Yeah, and especially into turn 3, the brakes are mega. I don't know if it got caught on stream, but I did send it on Jamie a few times into that turn 3. Yeah, they are good, but the only thing that it struggles with is curbs and obviously straight lines. So I think the last sector was only my best real chance to get on the back of Jamie. So.
We did put a lot of pressure on Jamie all the way through at race number 3, and whilst yourself and the team weren't able to quite take away the team's championship from Next Gen Racing Douglas Motorsport, you still were able to take the runner-up spot in the team's championship. And I have to ask, how do all the team feel about it, given the fact you've been in a little bit of a three-way duel, not just with Next Gen Racing, but also with Double Sim Racing all the way through the season?
Well, yeah, considering that me and Andrew Pike only started the season together, so it was only me and him scoring points in the team's championship. So, and after round 1, I had pretty terrible season, so we weren't really scoring team points. So I reckon if we had the full team of 4 from the get go, I reckon it would have been close, but I reckon we would have definitely have taken it.
Well, it's a close-fought teams championship this season, but what lies ahead for yourself and the Sim Racing Collective? Could we expect to see you guys back on the grid for season 4?
Yeah, we're definitely back for season 4. I know me, Fish, Josh and Sharpie will definitely be there. We'll hopefully have some sponsorship on board from Dad's new company, Higgins Automotive. So we're definitely going to be there. We're not sure what car we're going to be using yet. We're going to definitely do some testing and see what's what.
We'll definitely look forward to that, and it'll be great to see the full team of Silver Starred machines that are making their way around on circuit from round to round. But just before we do let you go, John, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a special thank you to today?
Obviously, everyone at TSRC, and also my dad who sits behind me every evening watching me, and he's just started his new business, Higgins Automotive. So go and check it out on Facebook, give it a like and a follow.
Well, John, with that, thank you for joining me in the interview room, and congratulations on being part of the team at the Sim Racing Collective who are able to make it P2 in the team's championship. And also, on a personal note, congratulations to you for 9th place in the overall championship. We definitely look forward to seeing more from yourself and the team as you go into season 4 in a few weeks' time.
Bye, Paul.
All the best. So hearing there from the Sim Racing Collective's John Higgins Jr., the pro driver who today really was focusing hard on working with his teammates to try and overhaul the deficit to Next Gen Racing with Douglas Motorsport and make the team's championship crown go the way of the Sim Racing Collective. It all looked great on paper. P1, P2 for Kieran Sharp and John Higgins Jr. And it would be the same for race 1 and race 2, albeit race number 3 not quite working out that way. But the problem was Douglas Motorsport with Next Gen Racing, or the other way round, if we want to say their team name properly, will finish at P3, P4 every time immediately behind, and therefore a bit of an interesting insight with the fact that if the team had all been there from the start, they definitely could have had a much closer run-in versus the Next Gen Racing outfit all the way through to the end of the season. And perhaps this is a precursor of what is to come in Season 4, as we are expecting the full team to be on the grid, all out in full force. I think Higgins Jr. will be right there to be at the spearhead of the formation that tries to take the team championship crown. And on his own personal note, try to take the overall Drivers' Championship, given the fact we saw a lot of pace from him in the opening half of the season, but that pace went away and then came back in the final few rounds. As we now conclude our interviews, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from 4 drivers this evening, and indeed give a round of applause for all of them. We heard initially from Jamie Dory from Next Gen Racing with Douglas Motorsport, the pro class driver, enjoying a good run of form today, and that consistency yielding him by result count back the overall Drivers' Championship based on P3 finishes. We also heard from Mikey Doble, the Double Sim Racing driver in the pro class, who was runner-up in the overall Drivers' Championship behind Jamie Dory. We also heard from Michael Lees, the 55 Next Gen Racer yellow driver in the Pro-Am class, Pro-Am champion, but he will be promoted to Pro as of what will be the next season, given that is the ruling. If you win Pro-Am, you are promoted to Pro by default. And we've just heard from John Higgins Jr., the number 5 driver for the Sim Racing Collective, who worked hard and fast today with his teammates to try and do everything they could to overhaul Next Gen Racer with Douglas Motorsport in the Team Championship. It didn't quite work out, but I definitely think it's a sign of things to come. And, well, thank you to them all for joining me in the interview room, and congratulations to all on their absolutely superb performances today. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show and you want to know more about the Next Gen Racing community, perhaps you want to find out a bit more information about our upcoming series, including the next season, the NXTGEN, the GT3 League that's about to start as of tomorrow evening, alternatively the upcoming prototype GT3 Endurance series that will be starting next week. We can find out all about them and more. Firstly, our official website, that's at www.nextgenracer.co.uk, and as our website appears on screen, is the home of clean and fair sim racing for all. For we at Next Gen Racing have been hosting leagues for over 16.5 years on PC and console, and as we continue to go from strength to strength, we continue to push the boundaries of what's possible in the esports world, and we'd love to have you on board with us. But if you don't want necessarily to go to our website, you can also follow us on social media at our Facebook group. That's at facebook.com/groups/Next Gen Racing, and there you can follow the trials and tribulations of the Next Gen Racing members, as we do have a number of individuals who work as real-world trackside marshals, and even some of us work as real-world motorsporting race drivers. We'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors for this season of the NXTGEN, Douglas Motorsport, the web address douglasmotorsport.com. And, well, what lies in wait for next time, I hear you ask, ladies and gentlemen? Well, before we do that, we do have just a quick word from Douglas Motorsport, which is, if you're ever wondering about Douglas Motorsport, they are the leading race team in driver development, which aims to give drivers a path of progression from LMP to LMP3 class racing, from karts to Ginetta Juniors and then to Ginetta GT4s, or the alternative route via British Formula 3. And if you'd like to know more about the team who are specialists in British Formula 3 and Ginetta Cup racing, please do head to their website. That web address again is www.douglasmotorsport.com. But now, without further ado, what lies in wait next time? Well, by popular demand, ladies and gentlemen, the NXTGEN will be back for Season 4, and it will be getting underway on Tuesday, the 8th of August, 2023. Save it in your diaries. It is only 6 weeks away before we lift up the curtain on an all-new season of racing. But we couldn't just leave you there. We've got to show you a little bit more about Season 4, and firstly, we can see here that we've got another ram-packed season of touring car racing action. The setup and the format is going to be mostly the same. As you can see there, we have our qualifying session once again. We also have our 3x20-minute races for each and every round, fixed setups as well, 10 rounds of racing action. But the changes for the next season. Firstly, we saw how successful Success Ballast was over the course of Season 3, but it was being applied after each and every round. Well, as of Season 4, Success Ballast is going to be applied per race. That's right, that means that between races we will see the Success Ballast on the cars updated, meaning that if a driver is performing very well in one particular race, they may end up having more Success Ballast going into the next race of the day, rather than waiting to see how the Success Ballast of their car is impacted come the end of the round, which will very likely bring the championship even closer in the overall standings. On top of that as well, we continue to have the overall and Pro-Am classifications, plus the race reverse grid, also manual race control, live safety car and live driver interviews, and I'm very pleased to say I'll be back in the commentary booth bringing you all of the racing action for Season 4. But also, you may be asking right now, well, this is all great and whatnot, but what about the calendar for the next season? Well, here is our provisional calendar. It's mostly confirmed, albeit we can't quite say it's fully confirmed until we do lift up the curtain, of course, of Season 4. But we'll be kicking off with a visit to the Monza Grand Prix circuit without the first chicane. That's going to be fast and furious, and it's all going to be about a lack of downforce of the cars. We'll then make our way to United Kingdom for the Snetterton 300 circuit, another classic British Touring Car Championship circuit. We can't go without it. We've yet to visit it in the international calendars, albeit we visited it in Season 1, I do believe. And then we'll be making our way over to the United States of America for Road America, with the added bend into the circuit. That's going to be a very different circuit for touring car racing, not a traditional one, but we like to mix things up. We've also got the Fuji Grand Prix circuit, and well, you may be wondering right now, with that over 1 mile long straight, the start for this straight, how's that going to shake things up? We'll find out there in round 4. The circuit Charles Villeneuve will be playing host of round number 5, and that'll be close in the hybrid street circuit of Canada, before we we then make our way into the second half of the season with round 6 at Zandvoort, and well, that absolutely delivered in season 2, and it's backed by popular demand from our drivers, a circuit like no other in the Netherlands, before we then go to the Zolder Grand Prix circuit, which returns from season 3, given the fact he was able to generate some absolutely superb racing. We'll also see in round number 8 a run to Japan for the second time in the season for the Twin-Ring Motegi Grand Prix circuit, and that one's a very technical circuit filled with hairpins and attacking braking zones. And in the penultimate round, it'll be Willow Springs Raceway, recently added to the iRacing Simulator service, so look out for that one. It'll be high-speed stakes racing. And then we bring it all to a close with round 10 at the Mount Panorama circuit in Australia. A truly international calendar for an international series now. It started off as what was looking to be mimicking the BTCC on the iRacing platform, but we continue to go from shape to shape, and that's the calendar, and we'd love to see you there. And to remind you, if you want to be on the grid, it's only £10 for a single driver, but if you've got friends or you're part of an esports team and you've got 2 drivers, well, it's £18 for the pair of you, you get a £2 discount, and if there's 3 of you, you get a 50% discount on 1 driver. It'll be £25 for 3 drivers. Make sure to sign up today. Spaces are still open, but they are going fast, and we will be cutting off sign-ups up to a point where we have to create a reserve list, given the fact we can only accommodate so many drivers. So make sure you get your place on the grid today, and remember that one date, Tuesday the 8th of August 2023, we'll be back to kick off season 4 in style. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, this is the conclusion of Season 3. It has been a pleasure to bring this to you at Next Gen Racing. For we have been Next Gen Racing, I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Brit the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. But until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.